Welcome to For Future Generations, episode 40 with Ben Mordecai. It is the 8th of November already, folks. It is the 8th of November. Thanksgiving fast approaching, Christmas right around the corner for those of you who celebrate such things. But it is coming fast. And Sean and I have been coming up on a year of shows. So pretty crazy. But speaking of Sean, I am joined by my wonderful friend, Sean. Sean, how are you, man?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
He is wonderful. He is wonderful indeed. And we are also joined tonight by our good friend, Ben Mordecai. Ben, thanks for coming on. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing good.
All right. So to get started
Superman does good. You're doing well.
No, he does good too. More than one person can do good. But to start off, for those of us, or for the people in our audience who aren't familiar with Ben, did you want to give kind of a brief introduction, some things that you're known for? Before we get started, I do want to say, if you don't know who Ben is, give him a follow, Facebook, Twitter, and his Substack. Subscribe to his Substack. It's free, and the links are in the description below. But Ben, if you'd like to go ahead and give people the spiel.
Sure. I'm a Christian man who, just a layman. I'm not in any church office or anything. Just have a normal, regular job, and outside of my work, I do a lot of things online. I write and I post on Twitter, post on Facebook, and kind of my thing is to provide a little bit of analysis of the things that I see going on, engage in whatever topics are going on during the day, and help out, especially men, as they come to me with issues they need a little help with, especially with regards to marriage and family and divorce. Really, when relationships go wrong, that's often something people come to ask me questions about, and I'll talk with them privately for the most part and follow up and see how they're doing. So if you follow me on Twitter or on Substack, or Facebook, you kind of know what I do.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, I mean, there are plenty of people who have good advice, but Ben is one of the guys he's been through it. All right, he paid the toll. He did the hard thing, and he can give you advice from both sides. Going into it, this is what to expect. Don't do this, do this instead. And very, very helpful things, because there are a lot of people in a lot of trouble these days. So it's helpful to look for people who have trod that rough road before you. And Ben has been an absolute help for me just in my personal life. I have not had, thank God, anything super serious happen to me. But, just reading and conversating, so to speak, with him has been really, really helpful in me getting my mind right, understanding the arguments, not just the arguments per se, what you say and what you believe, but also the tactics involved in arguing back and forth. So really, really good stuff. Like I said, links in the description. Follow his Substack, follow him on Facebook and Twitter. Very, very helpful stuff. So, Sean, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I got some commercials. First of all, I want to mention Veterans Day is obviously the 11th. If you know the history, you know why I say obviously. When I was younger, I used to kind of blow that off and not really think much of it. And I know that, U.S. Army hasn't really done a whole lot of good in the past decade or so, or maybe century. But there's a lot of veterans out there who feel underappreciated, and a lot of them are primed to be our guys. And so maybe go and give them a thank you, talk with them, reach out to them. I know for my wife and I, that's like our Valentine's Day. We go out and get free food all day.
So Sean, how do you, as a veteran, I'm not a veteran.
As a veteran,
like going and saying like, thank you for your service.
Mm-hmm.
Does that come off like real cheesy? or like how would you like someone to recognize you as a veteran?
Thank you for your service. I mean, everyone knows it's the default thing, right? So it's not as cringy. What's cringy is like, what do you say to that, right? Like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
My service.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Or my favorite one that really gets people tripped up is saying, "No, thank you for my service." It's people, but I know that like in the geopolitical world, like the U.S. Army hasn't been the good guy a whole lot lately, but there's real men who are a lot more right wing than you might think. A higher percentage of the U.S. Army than you might otherwise think. There's a lot of men with a little too much sugar in their step, but in these days. But some of us older grizzled guys are. I mean, honestly, like seeing the world, seeing what the third world looked like. From on top of an MATV from behind a 50 cal. I mean, that'll change how you. Yeah, that'll change how you see the world. So a lot of those guys, and the suicide rate is just so high among veterans that it really bothers me when a lot of like right wing guys will kind of go after veterans in a like a very hostile way. Like, a lot of us signed up very young. What was I, 19 when I signed up? So, I mean, like, that's very young. You haven't really matured yet, most of us. And so just something to throw out there. But yeah, thank you for your service is fine, I guess. I don't really see it as service. It was a job. It was a job I had for 4 years and got paid well and had a lot of fun in the meantime. So,
yeah, there's one guy I know who anytime people say thank you for your service, he'll say, well, I did get paid.
Yeah.
It's like and I got free college out of that.
Yep.
And I feel pretty good about how I'm doing there. But yeah. I mean, it's good to be grateful for things, and it's good to voice that gratification. But sometimes it does put you in an awkward spot, and that's your cross to bear, Sean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Sean, thank you for your service.
Yes. No. Thank you. Yes. Yes, sir. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is friend of the show, Vibe SEO, search engine optimization. Just sent a friend that way just last week and reached out, and so our buddy Drew, he's been on the show before. I've personally known Drew a lot of years. Runs a great thing, and he's it looks like Jeff has something popped up. There you go.
This is his website right here. It is just vibeseo.com. That's VIBESEO.com. And SEO stands for search engine optimization. So what this fella does is, if you have a website, if you have a business and you want eyes to land on your business, the way people find businesses today is they go on their phone to either Maps or Google or YouTube, and they look for people doing things, either because they're wanting to do it themselves or they're wanting to hire somebody to do it. And if you want people to find you in the search engine, you need to have search engine optimization. That is what Vibe SEO does. So go over to vibeseo.com. Tell them that Sean sent you, and we get a little bit of a kickback. And by we, I mean Sean. But
it'll go to the show.
Yeah, it'll.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing this out of our own pockets at this point, except for our coffee supporters. So we do have a website or a sponsorship, I guess, of sorts, which is for future generations on Buy Me a Coffee. It's buymeacoffee.com for future generations. For those of you who are interested in supporting the show, you can do so at $5 or $10 a month. And if you do that, we have a giveaway, which Sean is graciously donating to the cause. A beautiful copy. This is not the copy. This is for sale on eBay right now. So if you're impatient, you can grab it right now for 900 American buckaroos. But Sean is donating his same version, same
Mine. So I will say the one I have is like a reddish color. Like that's the
like
one
this
right
first-
there. There you go.
These
It's that
ones-
exact one.
They look a little bit brown, but I believe that's the same. Well, maybe
No,
that's not.
that red one's different. Yeah.
But anyway, it's this version right
Yep.
here.
Mhm.
Really high quality picture there, guy.
Well,
But,
man, tell
you
us
know,
you're
I-
Lutheran without telling us you're Lutheran.
I know,
Yeah,
getting rid of my Calvin's commentary. No, you know what it is? So I've had it above my mantle because I have this brick.
Yeah, I've been to your house.
Longtime viewers know this is the outside of my house, and so the brick above the whole wall that my fireplace is on is this brick, and obviously that color. I mean, it just looks fantastic up there.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's just taking up space, and I'd like to just put all my Bibles up in that spot. And so I need to get rid. I don't really consult anymore. There was a point when I was going through Bible college. It was undergrad, where that was the first thing I would always consult in the library. I didn't have my own copy at the time. I would go to the school library and see what did Calvin have to say about this. I still very much enjoy, especially his Daniel commentary is really second to none. That's the one that I really point people to. Genesis commentary.
The timeline of Daniel can be convoluted if you don't know what's going on. So it's really helpful to have some historically minded people who are theologically trained also commenting on it, because it is pretty heavy in both of those departments.
Yeah.
But Sean's version of this full volume in like new condition, we will be sending that to one of our coffee supporters for Christmas. If you would like to be in the drawing, the way to do that is to join our buymeacoffee.com Stroke for Future Generations and join at either the $5 or $10 a month levels, or give a donation of any amount. And when it comes time, right before Christmas, we will put into a random number generator one ticket, as it were, for every $5 amount. So if you just drop 100 buccarinos and say, no, I'm not going to subscribe. You know, I hate subscriptions. Everything's subscriptions. I always hate those. You know, I get it. I hate those too. I don't have Netflix. I don't have any of those things because I hate subscriptions. So if you don't want to subscribe, you know, just drop a gift. We'll divvy it out in $5 amounts, rounding down. And those will be put into a drawing come Christmas time. And we will send these books out to one lucky winner come then. All righty.
One last one. I just wanted to say, people have been asking about it. Our buddy at Western Front? Yeah. Western Front Publishing sent me my, this is my first draft basically of Robin Hood, the Green Knight. It's got some rather silly things that you can pause and read for yourself on the back. But yeah, sent me, it was pretty cool. He printed me a copy, gave notes in the margins, and I will be reading this, and hopefully we will get that published and for sale pretty soon. So excited about that.
Awesome.
Exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to it. I mean, I love Robin Hood, as some of y'all can see there. I love the Black Arrow. I love English literature just in general, and around the medieval period. It's just excellent. So love to see that. Really, really looking forward to that. And with that, let's get into some comments. Let's see. We've got Alex Oliar says, no disrespect to Ethan or Samuel, but this is your new best guest. This man has red-pilled more people than I've met. Yeah, that may be the case. He's definitely far-reaching. Lots of people have been touched by his writing because he's just a very cogent communicator. He's despite what some would say, he actually knows how to communicate. He doesn't need to learn how to communicate. He does that actually very, very well.
Also, we've never actually had Samuel on camera.
That's right. Samuel is reclusive. You know, I've chatted with him several times, but he's kind of a quiet and shy guy. Not shy in a bad way, but you know, he respects his own privacy, and we should too. But next time he drops a banger of a video, we'll definitely share the heck out of that too. Lion of the North 96 says, "Who up pondering their orb right now?"
Actually brought his
Yeah,
orb. There we go.
That's right. That's right.
Mm.
Pondering their orb. Lion of the North again says, Ben's articles on rhetoric and frame are excellent. Yes, and that is part of what we will be discussing tonight is frame. And rhetoric and frame, they're not really two subjects. They're one. The most valuable class that I took while I was in college, my short stint at college, was an entire class on logic and rhetoric. And it was incredibly valuable. When I left college, I resold a lot of my books, but I held on to my logic and rhetorics books because those were more valuable to me than gold. Samuel Holden says, "Wow, first comment is going to make me KMS."
Oh no! Don't kilometers per second.
don't do that. Do not do that. Hang in there, man. Hang in there. Ben Mordecai says, "Don't KYS Sam." That's right. Do not do it. Our white boy summer shenanigans depend upon you.
Yeah.
Sam Holden again just said a quick prayer for y'all. Have a great show and stay pondering. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Alex Oliar again says, "Sam, you've never been a guest, have you? You aren't even the Samuel I mean." Oh, he was referring to.
Oh yeah.
Shoot. Oh, but man, I hate
Samuel
the fact that I'll do this.
Johnson.
But,
Is it Johnson? Yeah.
His entire his argument about democracy, and you can find that is episode 4. It's the first one we uploaded to YouTube, and still evergreen. Share that frequently with folks.
Great guy.
And yeah, great guy, cogent communicator, and a thoughtful thinker, so to speak. And Yellow Moth says, "Hey, it's that guy whose tweets I keep liking." Yes, yes.
Actually, his comment says, "Hey, it's that guy whose tweets I keep licknig." So you should probably not licknig, bro.
Who
not on
licknig before?
Yeah, not on this podcast. We don't licknig.
Zoltan says, "Thank you for your service." Response: "Thank you." Yeah, that's a good safe one. That's a good safe one right there.
Hey, buy me a beer next time.
All right. Well, with that said, let's get into the subject for tonight. And the name of the show is "The Frame is the Game." And, several people have said that several times. I didn't come up with that neat little ditty. I'm sure Ben has said that several times in as many words. But, Ben, if you could give us an intro on what is frame, for somebody who's never heard of this before, and you say you've got to stand in frame, you've got to argue from your frame. What are we talking about? What does that mean?
So the way that I've typically used this this concept, I will make a construction comparison. I'll especially talk to men this way. Like I alluded to earlier, men will come and talk to me about their situation. Often they come and talk to me a little bit too late, when it looks like their marriage is going towards its ending. And what they will often do is come to me, they'll say, "Well, see, she's saying this, but that's not true." And then but I can prove this. And they're trying to persuade me. I'm like, "Hey, you don't have to persuade me. I've seen this a bunch of times. I know what's going on." But what you have to do is you have to exit this frame of figuring out who's right or wrong. And you've got to focus on what is going to happen, and then what do you need to do tactically about it. And so one of the things,
it's not necessarily about who's right, who's wrong, but it's about the fallout, managing the fallout and understanding where you stand in the moment.
Right. Yeah. So one example that I've used is taking an analogy from construction. And, I'm not a big construction guy, but I know a little bit. You have studs that are what is the frame of your house. Then you have drywall that you nail to the studs. And drywall is fragile. If you try to push against drywall, or you try to hang something on drywall, manipulate drywall, if like a tornado hits drywall, the drywall is not going to do very much.
It's going to crumble.
It's going to crumble. It depends on an external frame.
Right.
And the frame is strong in being immovable. So the more that you are immovable emotionally and able to kind of hold your position and understand, I am on this foundation. This is who I am. This is what I believe. You know, you're willing to listen to information, that kind of thing, but you will be pretty much immune to manipulation, and you will be strong enough to sustain those that are fragile around you, if it's possible to. Like if the drywall is already broken and cracked and beyond repair, then maybe you can't do anything about it. But your job is to be firm and immovable. And that is not being harsh. That is actually what offers the strength and stability and security that your wife needs. And that's often the context I'm using in it. But you can generalize this concept of frame to a lot of different situations. I like to say that frame, if you have a strong frame, you become pretty much immune to manipulation. Because a lot of manipulation is trying to get behaviors out of you, trying to get confessions or beliefs out of you, get someone to do your will do someone else's will on not straightforward premises. And if you have a very strong frame, you will recognize that's not my mission. That's not what I'm convinced of. That's not what I need to do. And you become immune to manipulation. So a great example of this that I've been seeing recently with the shutdown of the government is with SNAP. You see all these people online saying, oh, Trump is just taking away all these food stamps. 47 million people are going to go hungry. Let that sink in. And I'm like, why do I owe you money? Like, why do I care about you eating? Is it my job to feed you?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And just having that kind of mentality, you become immune to manipulation. Whereas a typical person, you're not used to be. You shouldn't be suspicious of everyone trying to manipulate you all the time. But that's kind of the world we live in right now. But if you had a casual, good relationship with someone, if someone comes complaining to you, you will often want to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sympathetic. I feel sorry for you. But when you actually know where you stand, know where you're coming from, and you're firm on these things, then people can't manipulate you, morally speaking, like that. And then that's the only tool that they have. Like the only thing they have for you is like, you need to pity me because I'm going to lose this thing. Like, okay, then like, I don't care if you lose it. So now you don't have that moral argument against me. So, and you're not saying to the person, you're not saying now you don't have a moral argument. You're just being immune to it. And you're saying, fine, I'm a bad guy then. Okay. I'm bad.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah. And it's a lot of it has to do with, and it's not necessarily exactly the burden of proof, because you're not necessarily trying to prove anything, but you're putting the burden back onto them, right? You see this a lot with emotional manipulative tactics where they say, XYZ, whatever the problem is. Food stamps is a good example of this. Like you said, they're like, well, so and so many people are going to be starving because of food stamps being canceled. And just simply by saying, okay, not my problem, Margaret, I'm sorry, Margaret, I don't care, right? That whole attitude just kind of takes the wind out of their sails, because you're saying, okay, why is that my problem? Why is that an issue to me? You haven't demonstrated, you're preempting them by saying you haven't demonstrated the sufficiency of your argument. You're assuming the argument, and so don't step into their frame. Their frame is, this is bad because of X, Y, Z. Your frame is, okay, that doesn't affect me. I'm not responsible for that. Or you're not even talking about me in many situations, accusations of, crime think, or, bad thoughts, hate statistics, things like that. You just say, hey, look, this is, I'm just presenting the facts. I don't have a position here other than, you asked a question, I provided an answer, you get wrapped around the axle, but that's not my problem.
Yeah. And there's a difference between that and if you're actually persuaded of new information or a good argument, you can say, oh, that's a good argument.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to say like, oh, man, you just dunked on me, and man, now I'm like, I've got to
Yeah.
be defensive because I've got to show that I've got a frame. It's like, no, that's not actually having good frame. That's showing that you don't have a good frame because you're so threatened by new information or new or good arguments. And no one disrespects anyone for changing their view when there's a good argument for it. What we're talking about more so is manipulation and anything that would really test you to see if you're going to fold because of things other than persuasion and rightly ordered argumentation.
Yeah. Emotional rabbit trails, things not cogent to the conversation. Essentially, don't take the bait, right? Don't take the bait. And you see this in a lot of public interviews. Whenever, you don't necessarily need to be an expert at speech and debate to be able to view a public interview of a celebrity, of a politician, of a pastor, whoever it may be. And you kind of have a sense, whether you understand speech and debate or not, you have a sense of who won the tete-a-tete, right? Who won the back and forth when you walk away. And you might not scientifically understand why, but in the back of your brain, okay, he came out of that looking really good. And the number one rule is don't become too impassioned, right? Don't fly off the handle. Don't get really upset. Even if it's good for clicks and good for views, it's not good for is it's not good for presenting your side, your argument, and defending yourself in the long run, because it really is about reputation. A lot of the arguments that are had online, a lot of the confrontations, they're an attempt to assassinate reputation, to destroy your life, get you fired, get you kicked out of your church. And if you don't have a solid understanding of where you are, if you don't have a good foundation to stand on, they're going to make mincemeat out of you. And whether you're right or wrong, this is getting back to what we were saying before, right, wrong, or indifferent, you're going to look like the bad guy. And the important thing is to maintain your frame, stand on your principles, and don't fall into their perspective. Don't put on their worldview glasses to try and understand things through their eyes. Instead, stand on what you know is true.
I think a good example of what you were just describing was I forget his name, but he was the border czar guy that Trump had hired. I can't think of what his name was. He was in
Tom Thompson. Yeah.
What is his name?
Mm-hmm. Tom Homan, I believe, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He was in like a congressional hearing, and AOC was talking with him. And if you watch that back and forth, he does it perfectly, because I don't even remember the exact thing, but she would just be like, there are people trying to get in this country. He's like, I don't care. Section whatever of this code and blah, blah, blah says they can't do it. She's like, well, it's not illegal to seek it. He's like, it is illegal to cross the border illegally. Like he just went like boom, boom, boom. And, he was
his most famous back and forth, of course, where she says, but don't you realize that this is going to be breaking up families? And he says, well, they can be deported together.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have to break up families. This isn't about breaking up families. It's about following the law. These people are here illegally. And if they're all here illegally, they can all go home together.
And it's a great opportunity to show the absurdity of the unstated underlying belief that a person like AOC has, because AOC is essentially saying everyone in the entire world has the right to cross the border and live in this country. Whereas he was basically like, that's not the law. There's a reason we have that law. You're breaking it. And she even said, it was funny because you could see that she was at the end of her rope. Like she didn't have anything left. And she was like, immigration is legal. And he was like, go through the port of entry. That's why it's there. Like, or she's like asylum or something like that. And if you just point out like America doesn't owe the entire world a home, if you just say something like you push back a different frame, because who's going to argue that is the case? No, America owes what are we up to now? Like 8 billion people. Is that what it is?
I've
now?
heard. Yeah. You mean global population?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not how many died in the thing, but
Yeah.
the global population. Yeah.
The most documented event in history. Is that what you're talking
Right.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. But they've even done surveys on, like, I don't know how they surveyed the entire world on this, but they did some survey where like some ridiculous percentage of people worldwide would, if they could, live in America. And like at some point you have to say, you know what? This ship is going to sink if we don't just tell you no. Like you can't just use your emotions to destroy the entire country.
Right.
So I just thought that was a better example than the snap thing, because like I think that if you try to use the position of like, I don't care if you starve, well, some people aren't going to really be down with that argument. Even though I understand where you're coming from, but like not everyone's going to initially just be like, yeah, screw those people. They should starve.
Well, I mean, so this is part of where I'm going with this frame is I find all these people that they will say the French Revolution had people storming the Bastille and like posting pictures of guillotines and things like this about people not being able to afford food. It's like, oh, so that's what Snap's for. So Snap is so that we can build an army of people that will kill us when we take it away. So then, yeah, I would pay money for you to starve.
Yeah.
Like it's
well, see, that's better framing, I think, than the, because I'm just in that particular case.
Right.
Not to say that I don't want people starving. I'm just saying, like, let's frame it in a moral.
Yeah. So what are some other good examples of this understanding frame, in relational situations? We've had several people on here that talked about their church situation. They've been run out of their church. They've been put through struggle sessions. I had a quasi sort of struggle session at one point with my elders. It went very well. I didn't necessarily handle myself, re-listening to the recording of what I said and what I did. I can hear things that I would have said and done differently. And, I've heard recordings where other people handled themselves better and at the end of the day fared much worse. And one thing that occurred to me was, it doesn't ultimately matter who's right or wrong. What actually matters is whether or not the person that you're discoursing with wants what is good for you at the end of the day. And when it comes to relationships, be that with a man and his wife, they're arguing, having marriage problems, they go to a marriage counselor, go to a pastor, what have you. These situations, what are some instances, good examples, Ben, that you have off the top of your head of where a man can maintain frame, set himself down and be like, okay, here is where I'm sitting and now I can kind of focus on where I'm going from here. Do you have some good examples of that off the top of your head?
Yeah. So one example would be with your personal boundaries of what do you allow other people to do. And really basically you get to keep the boundaries that you're willing to enforce. I was talking with y'all a little bit before the stream began about this in regards to parenting, the way that children learn the boundaries by testing the boundaries.
Right.
And that's why that's why like gentle parenting is a disaster, but why you have to have, like, the home is the safe place where they test their boundaries and they find that certain boundaries are a brick wall and they can't go through it. So like, for example, in our house, I require my children to honor and obey me. So it's not enough for them to eventually listen. They need to honor me as well. So like, if they go, okay, it's like, no, come back. Was that showing honor to me? God says to show me honor. And then the way it comes into it even further as a boundary is the commandment to honor your father and mother. That's from God. You don't have the choice to say, I don't require my kids to honor me because I'm just not that kind of person. Like, I don't need that. I'm fine with that. It's like, not your choice. God says, honor your father and mother. So it is your job as a father to require obedience and honor of your children. And so people say, oh, but you got to pick your battles. It's like, well, that's an important battle to pick, because if they can't learn to honor someone who loves them, has their best in mind, who is their superior, who knows more than they do, who is stronger than them in every way, if they can't honor that person, who are they going to be able to honor in life? Right? So beyond that, boundaries just in general with relationships is, are people asking you to do things that you just chronically don't want to do, don't feel like you're obligated to do, asking things that make you feel uncomfortable? You don't have to do those things. And people need to know that when you say yes, you mean yes. When you say no, you mean no. And you can be polite about it. You don't have to assume the worst about people, but you get to keep the boundaries you're willing to defend. And once you get in the habit of not defending your boundaries, then people learn that you don't defend your boundaries. And that actually makes people feel very insecure, because they don't know where you really stand. They don't know who you really are. They don't know what matters to you, because it seems like the only thing that matters to you is pleasing them. And right. So you're just acting as a people pleaser to them. And some people like that. Some people want implicit obedience from others, and that makes them feel powerful. But other people, most people actually do feel uncomfortable by that. That's like the drywall with no frame. They're going to start freaking out because they're the weak one, and they're beating you in an arm wrestling match. And so, like, wow, I feel very insecure right now. And they don't know how to vocalize that, but they'll feel it in their gut.
Well, and it's like that example, the sheetrock with no frame behind it. They're going to get really nervous when they go to lean on you and they feel you bending. Because if there's no frame holding you up, if there's no foundation underneath you that you're standing on, if you sink whenever they lean on you, if you bow and you bend and you break very easily, you're not reliable. And even manipulators, skilled manipulators who like to surround themselves with weak people, they love to chastise the weak people for being weak without wanting them to become strong. There's an example of this that Eric Kahn talked about in his Hard Men podcast, where he did an entire episode of play the man, be a man. And its usage in argumentation, where people will adjure you to be a man, stand up and take the punishment, like that scene from Band of Brothers, right? Where the commanding officer is like, okay, well, I gave an order that he didn't actually give. You didn't follow it, so I'm going to punish you. Be a man and take the punishment, or I'm going to court-martial you. And he says, well, I'll take the court-martial. He knew where his frame was. He wasn't going to let himself get pushed around. His commanding officer's like, just be a man, just take the punishment. It's just a light punishment. Just let me bully you a little bit. Let me break you down a little bit. Be a man and take the punishment. Be a man and be soft. And he contrasted that with actual, scripture, where it says, be a man and be strong. Be a man and know where your boundaries are. And the thing that came to my mind as you were talking about this, your boundaries that you set up, that you expect, that you maintain, they're a lot like a copyright, right? A copyright legally only exists if you protect it. Right. If I copyright something, like the name of this podcast, or some product that I've invented, some line of code, if I copyright that and then don't do anything about it, and everybody copies it, and next thing you know, half the computers in the United States are utilizing this line of code that I created, an ad blocker or what have you, and I'm not maintaining my copyright. If I try to take somebody to court and be like, hey, Microsoft is using my line of code without paying me, they're going, the court will turn around and be like, okay, but everybody's using this. This has become common. Your copyright is now null and void. That's the way your boundaries are. If you don't set your boundaries, if you don't maintain your boundaries, they don't exist. They only exist if you enforce them.
Yeah, and sometimes it looks petty. So an example of this is with the early Christians that were told to pinch incense to Caesar. The request was like, come on, just go through the motions, show that you can be a good citizen, and let's, we're really throwing you a bone here. It's like, no, you're not, because you're asking me to acknowledge that someone who is not Lord is Lord, and that my Lord is not Lord, and that matters.
Yep. And that was an early distinction. An early distinction between the Jews and the Christians, because the Christians would not give the pinch of incense, and the Jews were very happy to do so. They're like, hey, we're perfectly happy to do this in the temple. Give the little pinch of incense for Caesar on the altar. And the Christians said, no, we can't do that. That is a line in the sand. And it's such a simple thing, such an easy thing. This meat that's sacrificed to idols, what does it really matter? And Christians just set the boundary, stood on their frame, and said, no, this is a line we cannot cross. And for it, they paid a heavy, heavy price for doing so. And sometimes you're going to pay a heavy price. If you set that boundary and it's constantly violated, and you stand on it and you say, no, I'm not going to allow you to do this. It can hurt some relationships, but the relationships that it saves will outweigh the ones that it hurts, because the people who care about you want you to be strong. The people who matter in your life, your wife and your children and your elders, your family, your father, your mother, they want you to be strong. They need you to be strong.
Yeah, and when you come to the stormy seasons of life, the times when you really need to have some good friends to lean on, the people that you have tried to appease will be the first to disappear. And I have found that when I've been in these moments, the weirdest people will be there for me. I had some random mortgage broker that I used one time who was like totally there for me, would call me on the phone, check in with me just to see how I was doing. Like some random like card game nerd that I met just like invited me over to his house consistently, hung out with me, just, spent some time with me when I was going through some of my hardest times. These were not people that I had relationships with really, but the people that I had gone to small group with, the people who I had gone to soccer practice with, those people were not there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so this is, I guess one of the things that you might consider, someone might be asking themselves, all right, if I do this, will I lose friends? Will I lose relationships if I start maintaining my boundaries? And the answer is maybe, but it's way more important that you learn who your real friends are now when you don't need them, so that when the day comes when you do need them, you will have them. If someone knowing who you are and what you stand for and what your boundaries are is a deal breaker for them, or if it causes them to hate you, then they hate you. So why would you be trying to be friends with someone who hates you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When the troubles come, you find out who your friends are. Just like the country song, you find out who your friends are. Somebody's going to go and drop everything, right? And it's not always who you expect, but those are the people who are going to value you. The people who are not going to respect your frame, they're not going to respect your boundaries. Those people are waiting for you to fail. They're waiting, and I know it sounds cynical, but they're waiting for an opportunity to stab you in the back. And that's an uncomfortable thing to say. That's not a fun thought to have, but it's a good way of finding out who your friends are before you end up needing the help, before you end up needing somebody to lean on. So it's a little bit of preventative maintenance. Sean, do you have any thoughts on that? All right.
No, except that you guys are my friends. So
Absolutely. And folks, if you don't have people in your life that you can lean on, that you can talk to, reach out to people like me, Sean, Ben Mordecai, Ben Johnson, and also Ethan Holden. We have our communications open. We're going to be there for you guys, because sometimes when you're at the end of your rope, there aren't going to be a lot of people that you could reach out and contact. Things might be a little unsure. You might not know who to go to. We'll be there for you. We will respond. So don't think that you're in this by yourself. You're not, even though sometimes it's going to feel that way. Ben, did you have some more ideas about frame before we move on to kind of rhetoric and some ideas along those lines?
I'm good with moving on. I know at some point we're probably going to talk about
one thing. I don't know if you had covered this enough. Like we had talked before that you said frame and manipulation are linked.
Yeah.
Was there something additional you wanted to add to, or?
Well, I guess when someone is manipulating you, they're trying to get their will implemented on you in some kind of non-forthright way. Like if I want you to do something, Sean, I'm going to say, Sean, this would be a really big favor to me if you could do this. Or I'd say, hey, Sean, I can pay you this if you'll do this for me. This is like a forthright, straightforward way to have someone do your will. Or say like, listen, it's a big ask. Would you do this for me? But if you're saying like, Sean, I really feel like you're not that good of a friend to me. Like I'm always, I really wish that you were there for me. And like, I felt like you didn't really care. Like you don't like my stuff. Or,
you didn't share my tweet.
Yeah. I'm trying. It's hard to come up with a good example on the fly, but
no, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm laying emotional burdens on you.
Right.
As if it's like, now this is your problem. Now answer it. Answer for yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And that's really the basis of most manipulation is let me lay a judicial case on you without making a formal accusation, without talking about the way that without like discerning what right and wrong is. And let me make you deal with this. Or let me get someone else to do it for me. That's like the basis of manipulation. And by having a good frame, you simply say like, hey, I'm not trying to be rude to you, but if you have a problem, you need to talk to me about it. Like if I actually did something wrong to you, tell me. If you want me to do something, just ask me to do it. It's kind of like, you always walk by that full trash can. Why don't you take it? Why don't you just notice that you need to take out the trash? Like, listen, sometimes I notice, sometimes I don't. It's not necessarily my job to take out the trash. Maybe like we split it. But if you want me to take out the trash, ask me to take out the trash. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to like cry about it if you ask me, but I'm also not going to like feel bad because I walked by it and I just didn't know. It's like you saying that like well, but it just means that you don't care about me. It's like,
yeah,
does it? Is that what that means? So when a full trash can means I don't care about you. Is that right? Like, no, obviously no.
Yeah.
So let's just deal with this as adults and just be forthright. If you want me to take out the trash, I'll take out the trash. It's fine. It's no big deal.
That's a great, the excuse me. The trash is a great example of something that I feel like I'm constantly working on with my wife. I'll use myself as an example because what she'll say this thing where it's like, is there a reason that the trash is still full? Yeah, the reason
because no one took it out.
Yeah, because you didn't take it out. That's why the trash is full. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, just ask. Just say, hey, could you do that because I'm doing this and it would be helpful or something. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a smart ass about it. Like,
don't let your wife guilt trip you. That's a very important relationship advice. Don't let your wife guilt trip you. And my wife, guys, my wife is a saint. All right. So I'm the good example. I'll say, when the trash is overflowing and, it's been 2 days and I haven't taken out the trash, I'm kind of an old fashioned codger. I'm like, taking out the trash is a man's job. So I've kind of assumed that responsibility, but I don't always do it. Right. Yeah.
Right.
And my wife will come to me and she'll say, hey, could you take out the trash? Not the trash, you forgot to take out the trash again. And now it's stinking up my whole kitchen. I don't know why you're like this. You never take out the trash. Instead, she just comes to me and says, hey, could you take out the trash? It's getting stinky. Hey, could you take out the trash? Garbage is tomorrow. Could you put it out at the curb? Right. And that, it seems like such a small thing, but it's such a huge difference in the interrelational dynamic of a husband and wife. Is don't let your wife nag you. And if you're a woman listening to this, which you're probably not, you're probably a guy if you're listening to this, but if you hear me and you're a woman, don't nag your husband. Encourage him to do the right thing. And husbands, don't let your wife nag you. And just talk to her dispassionately. Don't berate her for this. That's one of the important things about maintaining frame. Don't get emotional. Don't go to your wife and be like, why are you saying every time, you're trying to make me feel bad about the trash? No, just tell me and I'll do it. You don't need to try and guilt trip me. We're in this together. Just tell me the trash is full and I'll go and take it out. But you also need to be the husband who goes and takes it out. All right. There's personal responsibility in this too.
You have to keep your word. That's a big part of all of this. Right. Is if you say you're going to do something, you need to actually do it. And if you say you're going to do something, you don't do it, and they come to you, you say, you know what? You're right. I said I was going to do this. I didn't do it. I'm sorry that I wasn't honest with you. I'm going to go do it. Yeah.
So
something like that, that's a lot more respect. Yeah. Like they'll respect you for that.
A huge part of that maintaining frame is, utilizing your position as a reliable person. And if you don't have that foundation of a reliable person, you don't have a frame to put on the foundation of reliability. You don't have a frame to stand in if you don't have a foundation. So work on yourself, guys, because we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. We will all have those times in our lives when we're not super reliable, where and you need to work on that. And you can work on that. You can do better. And it just takes some work, but you can do it.
Yeah. But this was actually something that I learned early on in my marriage is you can actually have fun doing this. One of the things that would happen early on is my wife would ask me like, hey, could you put away some dishes? Or like, hey, would you do this? I'm like, I don't know. It sounds like women's work. and she would laugh about it. And I would just like smile at her. And I would say like, would you like some help? She said, yeah. Okay. All right. I'll help. Right. Mm-hmm. So I would typically end up helping, but in the process, I am saying like, yeah, but it is mostly your job, but I will help you. Yeah. So this is often a part of conflict in a marriage is a man doesn't want to see himself as being too harsh. And so he doesn't understand that his wife has jobs for the house. It's like, this is your job. This is my job. And we do our own jobs without acting like the other person was supposed to do it. And some of this can be unspoken. Like you don't need to sit down and have a meeting necessarily. I guess different people will be able to do this differently in their marriage. It'll probably be more natural, but you do want to maintain like, no, I'm not like, we're not both alternate diaper people. We're not both alternate dishes people. Like you're the mother. So you're going to do more things like that. And I'm the father. I'm going to do more things like this. Mm-hmm. And so if I need help at work, like there have been times I've had my wife drive me something at work before. And there are times that I help out with things that she does that are normally her jobs at home. And the key is to understand both that we do have our own jobs, but we're also here to help each other. And really, you're here to help me mainly because you're my helper. I'm not your helper, but at the same time, we're working towards the same thing. And so hopefully you're on board with what I'm on board with, and we're all going in that direction, the direction that I'm setting.
Right. Live with your wife in an understanding way. Yeah.
For context, is your wife stay at home?
She is. Yeah.
Okay. So that's all three of us then. Because I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this like, oh, my wife goes and works and then she comes home. And so we have to share everything. Like it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
You have to come to an understanding, but the different dynamic does not actually change the realities of what a marriage is. And this is part of the problem is that you have 3 full-time jobs when you have 2 working parents
Yeah.
or two, a working couple. There's the domestic responsibilities, there's your career, and then now there's this third career. And so everyone's wondering why everyone's stressed out all the time. It's because there's two people
three
doing three
full-time
jobs.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the difference is that I am not suited for what is supposed to be her full-time job. And so if I'm out of my element doing these things, she's in her element doing those things. But then she also wants to come into my element of the workforce and do these things as well.
Mhm.
And maybe this is something we have to do because of the economic conditions or whatever the situation is. People have different reasons. But you have to come into it with that understanding that this is
a
just
less than optimal situation.
This is not an
that we're
optimal
working through
situation.
together.
It doesn't change biology.
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
so we need to live in an understanding way, understanding that we're not in an ideal situation.
Yeah. Actually, there's a friend of ours, a good friend of ours, who is in a different situation than us, where he works a full-time job. His wife works a full-time job. But what it is that they do is they work at a school together. They're in a family business. They run a school. And so their family dynamic is going to look different because they are both at their job full time. And then when they come home, they both do the chores full time. But even in that bifurcation, even in the way that they separate those things out, when they come home, those tasks that get divvied up still follow those sexual standard roles. The changing of diapers is mostly the wife. He ends up doing more of the cleaning, but he'll end up doing more of the heavy lifting cleaning. His example that he likes to talk about is he does the dishes. He loves doing dishes. Me, I hate dishes. I could eat off of Dixie plates for the rest of my life and never wash another dish. I don't mind pots and pans so much, but I hate just the routine of washing dishes. Part of that is because I'm tall and bending down into a sink kind of hurts my back. My wife is short. Dishes are right at her perfect height. It's almost like kitchens are made for like the average height woman, right? Almost, there might be something to that if you think about it just for a second.
And not to belabor this topic too much, but in the dual full-time job family, or even the dual job family, you might want to look into ways to avoid or to reduce the overall amount of work. Like if invest in a Roomba to do the vacuuming, eat on paper plates sometimes, do some things that are going to reduce the overall amount of work. Like be content with eating 50% crock pot meals or something like that. That's just reduces the total amount of work that needs to be done, because you're looking at 2 60-hour week people with jobs, and you're going to say like, this is our life for forever. Like that sounds like a recipe for burnout to me. So you got to find ways that you can reduce those things as best you can.
Yeah. Part of living with your wife in an understanding way is finding ways of, reducing that workload. If you have to eat pizza on Friday nights, freezer pizza or pre-prep pizzas, so that your wife isn't having to lift this huge heavy load every weekend when you're trying to take when you're trying to relax a bit from a stressful week. Maybe that double income needs to go to investing in some labor saving devices like a Roomba, like you said, or some nicer kitchen appliances, some nicer things that are easier to clean, what have you.
Or grinding so that your wife can eventually live at home.
Yeah. Which is hard to do, but worth it.
Well, and the reason I brought up that scenario is just because, like, a lot of the things, like the rhetorical things that I'll say sometimes, like, I come home, like today, like I had basically worked a 40-hour week, and then I worked another 11 hours today. And that's just what was on the clock. And, come home and wife's like, oh, I'm tired. I need you to do this. Like, oh, you know what? You're right. I only worked 50 hours this week. I need to add another couple on there. Or if it's like, oh, this, she's pregnant right now. Oh, this baby's really, burning me, whatever. I need you to, oh yeah, you're right. Let me take that off your hands for a couple hours. Like, what, that's your thing. Like you're the only person that could do that. You can manipulate gender roles as much as you want, but you cannot manipulate that one.
Right.
Like you have to be the
you
one
can't
carrying
hold the
baby.
pregnancy for her for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I bring that up, is because a lot of the times it's a matter of like, well, wait a second, your job is like, I can't come back from my full-time job and then hit the ground running while you go and rest. And then now I'm doing your job. So you have a part-time job at the home, and then I have the full-time job either at work or at home. Like, it's got to be one or the other.
Right.
And that's, anyways, like you said, let's not belabor it too much.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about before we get into a little bit more of a personal story is the concept of rhetoric. So first off, what is rhetoric and how to use it? Ben, do you want to kind of give us a little bit of an intro, and then I'll talk a little bit about this piece that you wrote on Substack a while back?
Yeah, so I'm not necessarily like classically educated or anything like that. You know, I did go to college, but it was for engineering, not for anything in the humanities.
Nerd.
But I am on Linux right now, so maybe I'm a bit of a nerd, but Arch Linux too. So anyway, so you know, I'm not going to give like a classical definition of rhetoric or something. I'm going to look at it from a usefulness standpoint of like, what do we use rhetoric for?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say it's basically some type of tactical communication. We are using words to accomplish something.
Right.
And this type of thinking about words is it's an uncommon way to think about words. Most of us will speak from the heart. We'll speak off the cuff. If we feel emotionally, we'll speak emotionally. If we believe something, we'll say it regardless of what usefulness it is to say it. And what I often counsel others, and what I've had to learn myself, and this is often a common problem for people that are intelligent naturally, is that you can very easily prove other people wrong, and proving people wrong doesn't result in them saying, "Oh, you're right. Thank you for proving me wrong. Now I'm going to believe what you believe." It's like their ego gets hit, or they double down on what they thought before, and they call you a bigot, or they call you some kind of name.
Emotions run high.
Right. And so you realize, like, what's the good of being able to be right or make a good argument, and yet it comes out worse for you? Like, nothing good comes of it, and people treat you badly. And, you know, you want to believe the truth, and you don't want to say things you don't believe. You don't want to tell lies, but
of course,
you want to use words not only to say the truth, but to achieve what you would like to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And so I call this tactical communication. So you have some outcome that you're looking for, and you are using words to achieve that outcome.
Yeah. So it's more important, again, with the whole concept of frame, you know, where we talked about, it's not necessarily about who's right or wrong. It's more about being able to set boundaries, create expectations, live in an understanding way. When it comes to rhetoric, it's less about actually, you know, proving your point, and it's more about persuasion. It's more about, you know, you can prove somebody wrong and not make them your friend, you know, very easily, right? If somebody says something stupid online, you can post the FBI crime statistics and go, herder, you're dumb, right? Very, very easy. And there's a place for that. You know, if this is not a person that you particularly value, like if this is not your wife or your elder or your friend or something like that, if this is somebody that you're trying to score cheap points in an internet debate, there is a place for that. But if this is somebody that you're trying to win to your side, if this is somebody that you are trying to convince, berating them, humiliating them is going to have a negative effect in your communication. So it's more about, what are you trying to get out of it? So when I got married, my family, the family that I grew up in, we were not good communicators. And I was the best communicator of all of my family by a decent amount, and I was a bad communicator. but my father-in-law sat down with me and had several what he called meta conversations, right? A conversation about the conversation we just had, right? We're going to discuss the discussion. And to people who have never done that before, that seems trite or a waste of time. Like, why are we going to talk about this argument that we just had, right? But the point that he was getting across is, look, the words that you used, what were you trying to achieve with those? The arguments that you used, what were you trying to achieve? What was your goal in this whole situation? And it's not meant, I mean, it can be done in a berating way, but the way that he was doing it was not in an attempt to tear one down, but to build them up, right? To understand the tools of communication. And that's going to sound, to some, that's going to sound very manipulative, right? I'm trying to convince you of a thing. I'm trying to sway you. I'm not trying to berate you. And it can sound almost foxy, like you're trying to trick me. You're manipulating me. The thing about manipulation is literally, the word manipulate just means to move. All right. Not all manipulation is bad. All right. When manipulation is bad is when you're trying to get someone to do something that is contrary to their purpose, contrary to their own good, right? So you are trying to manipulate the conversation in a way that is good for all involved. And once you understand that, it kind of opens the door to rhetoric, because now you understand that strong words and strong language actually have a role in conversation. So when people tell you, well, I like what you said, but I didn't like the way you said it, you can evaluate what they're actually saying, which 90% of the time is, I don't like what you said. When people are criticizing your rhetoric, the majority of the time, what they're actually doing is trying to win the frame. All right. And that's why these things are so intrinsically tied. You can have strong rhetoric where you say bold things and strong things and take a strong position. That's good. That's not actually bad. And in Ben's post where he's talking about the political, talking about the failure of conservatives and in general, the failure of the conservative movement, and he's criticizing the fact that rhetoric has been thrown out the door, right? We're not going to take strong positions. We're not going to say strong, bold things. We're just going to try and cruise on the seat of our pants. Well, when you do that, you've given up your frame. You've surrendered the entire argument before it's even happened, because you don't want to say bold things. You don't want to say things that might offend people. But it's not about not making those points. It's actually about how you go about doing that is more important.
Right. Yeah. So in my article on dominance that was posted for American Mantle and was also posted on my Substack, I was arguing about the way that you have more public discourse where the words that you're saying are in the arena, so to speak, and people are trying to decide which team is the right team. And so you may be speaking to someone across from you, but your real audience and your real target of what you want to achieve is those around the audience. And so you think there's a low probability of actually persuading the actual interlocutor that I'm talking to, but there's a high probability of persuading those around me. And in those cases, dominance is the way to go. People look at the team that they think is going to win, and they naturally want to side with that. It's just a human bias. You want to side with winners.
Yeah, and a perfect example of that is Donald Trump. When he's in his first debate and the moderators bring up, you have said bad things about women. You've called them fat, ugly, this, that, and the other, right? They're trying to set a frame of you're a bad person. You should feel bad, right? They're doing the guilt trip. They're doing the emotional pull. And he stands in his frame and he says something that actually strictly isn't true. He says, only Rosie O'Donnell. And why was that so powerful? One, because it's funny. Okay?
Yeah.
People
you're so likable when you say that.
Yeah, people love somebody who's funny. Two, it was strong. right? He's not conceding the point, even though it sounds like he's conceding the point. He's actually refuting the point. He's taking a strong, bold position, and he's saying, "No, I'm actually a good person. I'm only criticizing bad people." Right? So, part of that meta analysis, when you're debating, you're not actually debating your opponent. You are presenting an argument for the crowd.
And also with what Trump said there, like the audience was thinking, "Oh, I've called Rosie O'Donnell fat and ugly." Like,
right?
You know what I mean?
It's relatable.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, well, I guess that's not bad. That's what we all do, of course, in the privacy of our own homes. He just does it in public." Okay.
Yeah. So making an appeal to the crowd. There was, Donald Trump knew that the moderator was not going to be convinced, right? He was not saying this for the moderator's sake. He was not trying to win over the moderator. Look, I don't actually say these things about women. I only say it about that one person that I don't like. He's not trying to convince her, right? He's trying to win the crowd. He's trying to bring them in on his side by being relatable, by being funny, by being strong and standing in his frame. So he has that perspective in his rhetoric. He knows what the purpose is. He knows what his goal is. He knows what he's setting out to do. And what he's setting out to do is to win the crowd. And the conservative movement, in large, has not done that for the last, my whole lifetime, 30 years at least. And that's why they haven't won the crowd, is because they're not playing to the crowd.
Right. Hey, guys, let me know if this is a weird thing that I do, because this is true about myself, is that I will change my position on something only when the other side becomes easier for me to defend. Does that make sense, the way that I just said that? So, like, if suddenly I was thrown into the arena myself after watching two guys go at it, and I'm like, it would be easier for me to defend this other position that I didn't start with. That's when I'll actually change my mind. I don't know if that's something everyone does, but I think it speaks to the speaking to the crowd kind of thing, because there's so many people that never comment, never like. Well, especially when like Twitter would like publicly display everything you liked.
Yeah.
But suddenly the moment that Elon got rid of that, boy, there were some crazy things getting likes that we were just like, see, we knew everyone already believed that. They just weren't ready to say it publicly. Didn't want Eli McGowan to come through. Look at what this guy liked 3 years ago. Like, of course, now that's hidden, everyone's like, oh yeah, that crime statistic is right. Click.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is an important part of rhetoric, is knowing what you can convince people of, right? If you want to come out with some super strong, wild take, like the moon landing never happened, just to grab something off, just grab something really wild, and you want to convince the crowd of that, it's going to be really difficult, because a lot of people saw it happen. A lot of people saw what they believe was it happening. They've been told their entire life that happened. And it might be easier to step back and be like, okay, the moon landing happened, but this part of it definitely didn't happen. Or, the landline, Nixon talking to the astronauts in space didn't happen. Pick your battles. You don't necessarily have to lead with your strongest position. If you want to believe that some military dictator from the last century was a good person, you don't have to come right out and say,
hypothetically,
actually that person's a good person. He was a Christian and he died and he's gone and he went to heaven. You don't actually have to come out and say that. But what you can say is, look, the people he was fighting were at least as bad, if not worse, than he was.
Yeah, and it depends on your tactics, what you're trying to achieve by this statement. Like, sometimes saying something that is so far away from what the norm wants to hear has the effect of moving the middle really far to the right, just by virtue of the taboo being shattered.
Yeah.
So there can be value in that in its own right. it might not necessarily be persuasive to someone who's not already willing to accept radical arguments.
Mm-hmm.
But one way that I would approach, like, I don't really have an opinion about the moon landing. I haven't looked into that at all. But if I were say I was trying to persuade someone about the moon landing, the way that I would do it as I would lead, I'd say, okay, listen, we've seen pictures of stuff on the moon. We saw video of astronauts. It's a big part of our history. We learned about it in school. We were taught about the Apollo program. I would start saying, like, it's super relatable why people believe there was a moon landing. I agree. That's totally relatable. But here's some more context. There was a space race going on. There was this like bitter battle about whether the Soviets were going to get there first, and if this might vindicate communism in the eyes of countries that would go communist. And this is like an existential threat for the country. Like, you could see why someone would want to make America look good in this scenario as the capitalist side of the debate. There are these anomalies that are yada, 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 yada. So, maybe we could, just consider that there might be some more reason about this. So, like, I'm telling you this with none of those reasons at all. But you can see how you sort of feel a little persuaded that
there might be another side of the story.
Yeah, maybe there is another side of the story. And it's because I had this tactical empathy of putting myself in your shoes and saying, like, yeah, I did learn that. I did learn this. I'm not stupid for thinking you're not an idiot for thinking this thing that everybody thinks.
Right.
Like, you're not an idiot for believing what you learned at school. You should learn things at school that are true.
That is the goal after all.
Yeah, you're not an idiot for believing what you turn on the TV. It's like, why are they the people that are on the TV? Because they're the experts. Because we as a society all agree that these people are worth paying to put on TV. And so they come on TV and they tell us the truth. That's a reasonable human thing to think. Like, I can see where you're coming from. The problem is, like, there's a lot of reasons why that's not actually the case. So I'm not going to treat you like you're stupid for thinking that, but it's very important that you don't think that.
Yeah.
Or at least that you're not completely rejecting people who don't believe it.
Yeah. I'll throw a grenade in there because Holocaust denial comes with like an ethical dilemma. I mean, the moon landing. I mean, I don't think anyone's just like thinking it's like some grave sin if we fake the moon landing or something like that. But boy, are you in a grave sin if you deny the undeniable number. But what's crazy with that one is like the appeal to logic on that argument is like, not only did it not happen, it could not have happened. Like that's the appeal to logic with denying at least the 6 million number. Like I remember seeing on Twitter, Seth Rogen was going at it with who's the female UFC fighter that was in the Mandalorian?
Gina Carano.
Yeah, something like that. Something in that ballpark. She had said something about, the 6 million and we should be sad and whatever. And Seth Rogen's like, actually, it was 7 million. And
right.
And
the reductio ad absurdum.
Yeah, he was dead serious. Like he was he was like, no, it was 7 million. She's like, well, respectfully, that's when she started like the number is actually 6 million. He's like, you're a denier. What are you doing? Like, you're denying the Holocaust. And she's like, no, like I totally believe it happened, but I'm telling you that you got the. So then, like, my reaction was, oh no, new undeniable number just dropped. Like we got a new one.
And that's an important part of rhetoric too, is don't make your side so purist that you can't have partial friends. Right. By doing something absurd like that, by taking it one step further, Seth Rogen is making his position undefendable, and he's making people dislike him. And if you look at it from the purpose of rhetoric is to achieve a goal. What is the goal? To win people to your side. He did a very poor job, because even if he had in his mind, very cogent arguments for it, he's making the position that she holds, which is the default position, untenable. And most people are going to hold to that position. And by making her out to be a bad person by holding the default position, like Ben was saying about, for example, the moon landing, which I think we're all in agreement that did happen. All right. Stonequire has an episode about the moon landing. If you deny it, they take a very strong stance against you. And, it's important to make it so that rhetorically, if you disagree, you don't have to default be bad guy. That's the first step to winning people over, is telling them, look, you're not bad for disagreeing, but here are some reasons why you could agree. Because your goal is not just to win, right, in the moment, but to win in the long term, to convince the crowd to come over to your side.
Yeah. Or in some cases, your goal is to break a taboo. So, for example, with the Snap stuff, I don't think that I'm ever going to persuade people that are getting free stuff from the government. Oh, rationally, you should not want free stuff from the government.
Right.
You're not going to win that argument.
Mm-hmm.
But they have this kind of moral play that works on people, because you can have these images of people starving. And realistically, it's like 2 people in the country starve per year or something like that. It's like a ridiculous few number of people that starve. It's like every person that starves is because of like criminal abuse and neglect from parents or caretakers or things like that. But there's a lot of rhetorical power, and you can break taboos very easily by saying, like, you have the courage to hate the rich. I have the courage to hate the poor.
Right.
I like,
which
I
again,
don't particularly want to
funny.
feed my enemies. Yeah, exactly. You get, like, it's funny, but it breaks this taboo of, like, you're supposed to love like every poor person is a victim. The system is failing. It's like, no, there is not a system that exists that can make sure that every person has everything they need and fed and yada, 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 while they're also being drug addicts. Like, drug addiction means that you consume as much as you could possibly consume. Yeah. That's what drug addiction entails. So you can't have people that are a black hole for consumption and say, like, oh, whatever it takes.
At any cost.
At any cost. Like, this is just a line in the sand. We can't, like, then you're not a serious person. Right? So there's value in breaking certain taboos. Like, do I want people that want to guillotine people for taking away SNAP to starve? Yeah, I do. Is that okay? People that want to kill me, I want them to starve? Yeah.
Well, the really crazy one is when people would say, not just like storm the Bastille, but people will say, like, oh, if we take people's benefits away, then they'll start robbing houses. And I'm just like, oh boy, don't threaten me with a good time. Like, what? Free range practice? This is crazy. It's such an absurd argument. Also, I want to say that was a very persuasive, like, you have persuaded me that there is no hunger in America. I mean, there's hunger. There's no starvation in America, because, like, when you said, like, oh, like 2 people a year starve, and then I had to, like, I would like to see my face when I watch this again, like what I was looking like because I was like, oh, that's a good point. I've literally never seen someone go skeleton mode like the kid with the vulture behind him in the National Geographic photo. Like, I've literally never seen that in person. Like, we have this idea, like, oh, people are starving from this, or some crazy millions of people face hunger. Like, well, yeah, I faced hunger today for like a couple hours, and then I went to Wendy's and I wasn't facing hunger no more. Like,
I mean, this is such a ridiculous position. If you think about this, you can take $1 and go to McDonald's and get a soft drink. Yeah. And you can fill it with Coke. You could drink that all day.
Yeah.
And you could get, like 1,500 calories. Yeah. I mean, you could get enough calories. You would not starve. You would be malnourished. It would rot your teeth. Yeah. But you would not starve.
Yeah.
It's a failure of nerve and creativity.
I've literally never seen a homeless person that I was like, wow, that's an emaciated homeless person.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, like it's so absurd. Like, now that you say that, it's just like, wow, that really is a weak frame. You're not
Yeah.
starving. Or like when they show like the fattest person that you've ever seen, like a comically, like I remember what was it in The Simpsons in the early 90s, like Homer gets on a scale and it says he's like 250 or something.
Yeah.
And it was like this was a comically fat person in the early 90s, right? But like the news will show the most like looking like Dr. Robotnik with like legs smaller than like the top heavy woman. You know what I'm talking? Does that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very common to see 300-pound people.
And it'll say something like the tagline on the picture is like so and so has to skip meals to get by, and like then you have like the press X to doubt.
And when it comes to rhetoric,
intermittent fasting.
When it comes to rhetoric, there's a very common saying, which is a picture's worth 1,000 words. And that's where memes come in, right? Memes are really good at just being very punchy, getting the point across with, the perfect meme has fewer than 10 words, right?
Right.
And one or two really striking pictures. But there was a meme that's been going around this week where a very obese ethnic woman is talking to a news reporter, and she says, "I'm starving to death." Just straight up to the camera says, "I'm starving to death." And then, just video format. This is like a 3-second video. The little headline at the bottom says "Snap defunded." She says, "I'm starving to death," and then it cuts to a guy from some movie where he's just going, "Eh." That's it. The whole meme. It's punchy. It gets the idea across, and it's strong rhetorically because it makes the person who is consuming the material understand the argument. And the argument is, no, you're not. No, you're not. He didn't even have to say it, right? He didn't have to say, "You're not starving to death." He just demonstrated, he used a rhetorically strong, compelling photograph of somebody who is obviously not starving to death, saying they're starving to death, and then a picture of a person who just relatably has a facial expression of, "I don't know about that."
Yeah, and the reason that works so well is when you argue a point explicitly, you're taking your point and saying, "You accept mine." When you do something with a meme like that, you're causing them to get the idea themselves, and they feel like it is their own idea.
Right.
And you believe your own idea is better than you believe someone else's ideas.
Right. Implicitly, because it's your idea.
Right.
Yeah. And that's getting back to the point I made earlier about manipulation. Not all manipulation is bad, right? You want to manipulate the world around you toward good, right? You cut your grass because you want it to look nice. That is manipulation. You cut your grass to make it look nice because you want your neighborhood to be clean, right? Broken window theory. Those are forms of manipulation that are positive. And we do this in our everyday life, and we understand them intrinsically. But as soon as you start talking in the world of rhetoric, people start saying, "Oh, well, you're just trying to manipulate me. You're just trying to change my mind." And that's why, Charlie Kirk was such an effective communicator, is because he would let you make your point, and then he would systematically, point by point, kind of take it down. And then he would, after the fact, present his own position. He would be like, this is why I disagree. These are the problems with your theory. Here is a counterpoint. And he would give you something to chew on. And in the best instances, we've all seen those parts where someone will say something and then he'll just say, "Well, the statistics say XYZ." He doesn't say, "Well, I believe this." "Well, I believe you're wrong because." He just says something that then makes the person realize what they're saying is not true. That was then that person's idea. He didn't have to put words in their mouth. He didn't have to present his argument. He just said, "Here's something true. That's going to hit your brain. It's going to conflict with the thing you just said, and now you're stuttering." Why? Because you just conceived of the idea of why what you just said was wrong. That's very powerful because you made it your own. He made it yours.
Yeah.
I know Ben wants to get into the the
Yeah,
struggle session with the
we've been
section.
going for an hour and a half, so let's hit some comments, and then after that we'll go into some examples in Ben's life of utilizing frame and rhetoric to defend oneself in a tricky situation. But getting back into the comments, here we got Yellow Moth. He says, I licknig whatever I want. Yes. Part of rhetoric is never apologize. You know, if you make a mistake, just never apologize. Just write it.
You just go on licking them nigs, dude.
Lion of the North 96.
Yeah, nig liquor.
This is a conservative neighborhood. Nig liquors keep moving. Lion of the North 96 says, pour one out for the homies tonight, commemorating the last Stone Choir episode having dropped. Yeah, saw that announcement.
Yeah, good frame,
things,
by the way, right?
All good things must come to an end. True.
Good frame. As you say, we've said what we need to say. We're not going to churn content forever because it's what you expect of us.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we will, Sean and I, we will churn content forever.
Yeah, because we don't have shame. And we are poor, and we want to make money off of this.
Buy me a coffee, please.
Listen, Sean, have you considered just putting up your John Calvin commentaries on auction themselves?
I know, right? I make more money that way.
Yeah, for sure. No, this is a labor of love, and by that I mean I love to do it.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing it. But Stone Choir announced their last episode, and I think this is actually going to make them more popular because I know a lot of people, and this is not a diss at Corey or Woe at all, but a lot of people kind of tuned them out because they already had that feeling of, okay, I've heard everything they have to say. You know, it's maybe getting a bit repetitive, or whether it is or not, people have that feeling. When you announce that, hey, this is the last episode, you know, the canon is closed, right? This is it. You're going to see a lot of people go back and listen to every single episode because now there is, you know, supply and demand. There's no supply, demand goes up, right? And so it's actually a very good way, rhetorically, of getting your ideas to more people.
To make it evergreen.
Yeah, make it evergreen. Very, very true. Yeah, so I'll definitely, I didn't listen to every single episode. I listened to maybe the first 30, and then after that, I would just listen if I saw an interesting title. You know, the stuff on the Greek Old Testament. I listened to all of that stuff, found it very interesting. But you know, I'm going to go listen to all of it because, you know, the last episode, that was a compelling piece of rhetoric. I'm going to be like, I'm going to consume more product.
Y'all keep going for just a second.
Sure thing. All right. This is Check for Tunnels, also known as Zoltan. Said, their inverted moral system is implied in their accusation, and you assent to their moral authority over you when you react within their frame. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about this. In I don't know if it was last week's show. No, it would have been, I believe, the show before, where Doug Wilson accepted the frame of David French, right? Because David French comes out and he says, you know, all of, you know, anti-Semitism has been rising on the right. And then Doug Wilson pops off in the comments like a pick-me girl, and he goes, well, aren't you going to, you know, give us kudos for standing against it this whole time? You know, like Z said, you know, their inverted moral system is implied in their accusation. And then Doug Wilson assented to that moral authority over himself when he reacted within that frame. That was bad rhetoric. Right. Like or hate Doug Wilson, that was bad rhetoric.
Yeah, I mean, if Eli McGowan quoted me positively, I would want to, you know, I don't want to say the words
kilometers
KMS on YouTube for y'all's channel, but
yeah, but it's even if people are you know, representing you positively, if they're negatively perceived, you don't want to assent to that. If this comes to the audience you're playing to, if your audience, the group that you are trying to convince, sees a person negatively, don't bend to their frame, right? When shoot, I forget what his name was, but the fellow who ran the American Nazi Party, George Lincoln Rockwell, when he endorsed, who was it? Nixon? I forget who it was. He endorsed somebody for president, and the person immediately came out and disavowed him. Why was that done? Because they understood who their audience was, right? If George Lincoln Rockwell endorses you for president, you get his crowd de facto. Coming out and disavowing George Lincoln Rockwell didn't lose you the vote of George Lincoln Rockwell supporters, because they're supporting you on an ideological basis. But by disavowing him, you have played to your crowd who don't want to see you as an American Nazi, right? So there are positive and negative effects of this, but everybody who is successful in life understands frame, whether implicitly or because they actually know what's going on. They're going to utilize that in their argumentation. Chris Hookins here says, never just assume a good faith argument with people you're not close with, and sometimes not even then. Yeah, it is unfortunate that in the world we live today, you're going to have to be a bit cynical, but c'est la vie. What are you going to do about it?
I'm going to give a little bit of pushback on this. So. Mm-hmm. Luther in his catechism tells us to put the best construction on things. And so that's a word I say a lot, or a phrase. So yeah, I mean, I forget which commandment he links that with, but I understand what you're saying.
Probably what we would consider the ninth, the do not lie or whatever.
Yeah, I want to say he puts it under that
or it might have been under killing for like assassination of the character or something.
Yeah, it's in. I know it's in the catechism somewhere, but I do believe it's something that I have to work on myself a lot, is putting the best construction on something.
That's actually something I disagree with, but I'll let you.
Okay. Well, let me say.
I'll tell you why I disagree with it.
If someone like Eli McGowan, default bundle of sticks of the internet, worst person in the world type guy. If someone like him says something like, I know who he is. He has shown himself to be who he is.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been times where, Jeff on the podcast has said Trinitarian heresy, and I'm like, whoa there, guy. Like, let me make sure I put, let me put the best construction on that. And so I guess in that case, like, there are people that historically they have shown themselves to be trustworthy. And if they say something that you're like, immediately I felt offended by that, but I'm going to give them a break based on the history of what they said. I don't believe that Luther would then take that and say, I know that the Pope says that Mary is co-redemptrix or whatever, but I'm going to put the best construction. Like, of course, like Luther himself wouldn't have, in that case, done that, because some people do know better. But I guess, like, never just assume a good faith argument with people, and sometimes not even then. I understand what you're saying, because I'm putting the best construction on it. But I'm
going to assume, Chris, that this was done in good faith.
I do my best, unless it's like clear, unless there is no better way to say it. Like, it's clear why this person said it. Like, for instance, I've had people on the internet, they'll subtweet you, and for a fact that the only reason that they said what they just said is because it's in response to something that you said.
Mm-hmm.
There is no different construction to put on the thing. Like, what they did. They know what they did, and they know what they did. So in that
But they
case,
still
like,
Say
did it.
at me next time.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So when it comes
Yeah.
to the statement he just made, never assume a good faith argument with people you're not close with, and sometimes not even then. To assume the good faith of this, what I would say is, it's actually helpful sometimes to indulge a little bit of cognitive dissonance. To, in the back of your mind, put the best spin on it, but also the worst spin on it, and kind of evaluate the two sides against each other.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I want to hear where Ben
Yeah.
specifically disagrees with it. So
Yeah. So what I would say is that you should believe the thing that you have the most evidence for, and not, don't assume the best of someone. Don't assume the worst of someone. Have beliefs based on what you think is true, and hold them in proportion to the amount of evidence you have for them. So, for example, if I'm walking down the hood and I see a black guy with sagging shorts and a wife beater tee and a do-rag and he's covered in tattoos, to assume the best of him would be to say, like, well, I don't know anything about him, and he might be a great guy. To assume the worst of him is to say, like, hey, I need to call the cops right now because that guy is a thug and a murderer. But what I should really do is I should say, based on all experiences and the way he presents himself, he's dangerous. I don't want to be around that guy, and I'm going to act accordingly. But I will also hold that view tenuously, so that if I have new reasons to believe that he is trustworthy, or new reasons to think that he's a good guy, then I'm willing to be persuaded of it. But I'm not going to just assume that he's doing the right thing. So I would say that similarly with friends, pastors, whatever, you should have a realistic view of everything, and being neither good nor bad, and the amount of caution proportionate to your certainty.
well, I think where it comes into play, and I'll kind of link it back as you get a sip of water there. We'll when
Are you insulting my beer? No.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Don't put a good construction on that one. No, I get down with some Coors Light sometimes. In the struggle session that we'll talk about, a lot of what was going on there was them not taking the best construction of what you're saying. They were looking for, like, this hurt my feelings, therefore your intention was to do a bad thing. That would be the alternative to best construction, is being like, well, I read it this way and I'm running with it. I think the idea is that somebody who has earned your good faith has said something that initially you're like, I don't know, like, I can take it this way, I can take it that way. Like, I'm gonna allow them the opportunity to, clarify it. And then, obviously if they clarify it and what they're actually doing is flipping you the bird, then, well, there's no best construction on that. Like, you now have the evidence you need. So I won't go on forever with that, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Reasonable expectations. Sockeye Grooming Company says, hey, brothers in Christ, Big Ben. Yes, indeed. Big Ben, indeed. What is Ben talking about being big? What is your PR?
Sadly, I've had a bad year with weightlifting, so I haven't really made any progress this year. But probably my best weightlifting was doing deadlift at 460 pounds.
Dude, that's insane. All right, Sean, could you read a few?
Yeah, Nathan Betty, haven't talked to you in forever, dude. Says, my dudes, love y'all. Love you too, bud. Sorry I've been in the shadows lately. Always enjoyed your awful theological takes. No, I'm just playing with you, bud. Let's see, Sockeye Grooming Co. again. What are you grooming, by the way? He says, Ben wronged me recently by not paying up on the watermelon he owed me. I confronted him and he paid up. Is that an inside joke, the watermelon thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think it's just an outside joke.
Are you being racist, Sockeye? I'm going to take the best construction on that.
Yeah.
Nathan says, tables are taller than countertops. There's a reason. You know, when you said that, I sat there in my head and I was like, are my
Are they?
tables taller than... Yeah, I sat there and thought about that for a bit.
I don't know, but I agree on vibes, so that's good enough for me.
Vibes are good.
Vibes are right.
Yeah, to give a little bit of behind the scenes, I am actually at my dining room table. That is where my setup is. And it is not higher than my countertop. It is noticeably lower. So
I'm on an adjustable height desk.
So it can be whatever you want it to be.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
That's getting ridiculous.
All right, I'm sorry.
Okay.
A little too much fun here.
This I'm going to give context for because I'm sure we've lost it. He's talking about our friend who works at the school. He says, the friend is living the fruit of the Federal Reserve and feminism as most men who wish to live out patriarchy. Is Sockeye wrong? Open to disagreement. Thanks. First of all, are you Elmo with that? Like the way that you talk there, like, is Sockeye wrong? Like that's like a very Elmo way of talking. Is Elmo wrong? So anyways, yeah, I think you are wrong on that one. Because I know who he's talking about, and this man is a perpetual impregnator of his wife. And
yeah, we had a challenge this year, which was get a cutie pregnant 2025, and he did it twice.
He's double dutching on it.
Yeah,
wow.
He's Irish in it.
Yeah.
My wife's in her 40s. I don't think she can really handle much more.
Understandable.
I also accomplished this job of.
That's right.
Was your? I know you just had a kid born, but that would have been conceived.
She would have been conceived last year. Yeah.
Oh man, so you blew it.
I didn't make it. I didn't.
There's still time.
Hey,
there's only so many shopping days left to impregnate your wife. Tactics by Greg Kukul is helpful in many cases. I read this probably like a decade ago, so I remember thinking it was cool. I still have a copy I could always go back to, but it's the one with the chess pieces on the front.
Yeah, I've got a copy too. I read it. I thought it was good, but probably not the best of what I've read. Which the best it has been 2 books. One is Verbal Judo by George MacDonald, which is mainly for cops, but it's universally applicable. And then the other one is Hammer of the Patriot.
Is George MacDonald the one who did Never Split the Difference?
No,
is that the one
I'm sorry, not George Thompson.
Oh, okay.
George Thompson, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have heard
George
of
MacDonald is one of the Inklings, right?
Yes, George MacDonald.
I was wondering if George MacDonald is the guy that wrote one of the chess books that I like. Now I'm thinking
it is not an uncommon name, so it actually could be. Let's see. Yellow Moth says 271,000.
Yep, that's right. Tops.
Yep. I don't know what you're saying, but I concur.
He's saying that it was less than the documented number.
Yes, correct. And mostly starvation and disease. That's correct.
Yeah, right? mostly typhus. Yeah.
Sir Gilder says there is so much food in this country. For those who do not wish to work, there is huge amounts of food available in food banks, many times with no questions asked. Yeah, and sometimes very good food. A friend of ours, actually Z in the chat, was looking at stuff that is SNAP eligible on, I believe it was Amazon right now. I didn't know you could use SNAP on Amazon. I'm a little bit upset about that. I wish they couldn't. But obviously, why wouldn't they? It's free money, right? Caviar and lobster tail are SNAP eligible.
I need to get on that. I've never had caviar. I'm very curious. to try it.
I
But I've never
had
had it.
caviar in a where was I? I think it was in Amsterdam. I was in some North European airport, maybe in Scandinavia. I don't remember, for a layover, and I was young and unmarried, and there was just a little shopette with expensive food, and I was like, you know what? Let me try some caviar, and I had it, and it was good, but it was very expensive, and it was not worth the money. So I did like it, but not worth it. There are other things much cheaper that I would like much better, like a good bacon cheeseburger.
Hell yeah.
Much rather have that. Vilder again, by God's grace, I have not gone hungry because of charities like these lately, and it is to my shame. But these are often abused by those who choose not to work. Yeah, people in hard times can find the help they need from local churches and religious institutions.
Yeah, receive it with gratitude. That's the main thing I would say.
Yeah. And also, don't be ashamed, but be a little bit ashamed. Be just ashamed enough to motivate yourself to do better, but don't be so ashamed that you don't partake. These charities are there for a reason, and it's for people who are struggling.
I will say this on that note. I have neighbors who have hit hard times, not because of the SNAP thing, but various reasons, right? Lost a job, did whatever. And I thoroughly enjoy helping those people because they're people that I love. They're my neighbors, right?
Yep.
In every sense of the word. And so it's, I'm sure they feel some shame when it's like me, coming around to like mow their lawn or something for whatever reason I had to, and give them food or whatever the situation is. But like, I enjoy that. I enjoy helping people that I care about when they're down on their luck. And we lose that when you have that third party involved, like the government, right? So like they take that money and then they give it. And so those people never go to your door and say, I am hungry today. Could I please have a parcel of bread? There's not that interaction.
Yeah.
There's a great scene in the Simpsons where it's the one with it's like tax day, and like it's like New Year's Eve, like the fireworks going off or whatever. So it's midnight, and like Ned Flanders wakes up and time to do my taxes. And so he like goes to the kitchen table, he's doing it, and one of his kids is asking him like, Daddy, why do we pay taxes? And he's like, taxes pay for all kinds of things, roads, sunshine, and those who just don't feel like working, God bless them. So that's that. Like, people know inherently, even someone as liberal as Matt Groening can see, like, I really don't care for that aspect of where my taxes go. I'm cool with the roads. I'm cool with the parks. Not crazy about the free Gibbs.
The freeloaders, yeah. This is a controversial one. Sir Vilder, statistics don't say anything. They just exist. Any interpretation of statistics is exactly that, interpretation. Hard no. Strong disagree. Statistics say things. That is what they do. They don't just exist. They just say things. They do say things. If you can look at statistics and see 5 people got murdered in your town last night, and there haven't been murders for the last 10 years, that is saying something. Your interpretation of it may, lead to what you deem as a solution, but it is in fact saying something, which is that 5 people got murdered, right?
Yeah, and that's where rhetoric comes in. Is you can cause people to believe things by the way you present statistics.
Correct. Yeah. So the utilization of statistics is all about rhetoric, but the statistics do say things in and of themselves. It is the skill of the orator or the writer to utilize those statistics to make the meaning understood, but they do have intrinsic meaning. Right. Sir Vilder again, if Stone Choir isn't going to make more stuff, does that mean you're going to get more popular? Maybe.
People need to fill their headphones with podcasts.
Maybe. Probably not. I mean, we're ascendant, but we're ascending slowly.
I will say that the Stone Choir podcast existed for specific purposes. Like they didn't make episodes just to make episodes. In fact, they would, when they got into like the Septuagint thing, they were like, originally we were going to do like 3 episodes, and then it became however many it ended up being. It was like some long series. And whereas we just kind of wing it. Like I, got a message like, hey, we're going to have Ben on the podcast this week. All right, cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't like ramped up all week. Like, oh man, Ben's going to be on the podcast. It was just like, hey, this is what we're doing. We try to be conversational, even when we don't really have anything to say. Somebody, I forget who it was. It might've been like Count Dankula or something, was saying that, he'll do a podcast even on like Christmas Day, just because there's somebody out there who needs to at least feel like they're part of a conversation.
Yeah.
And so he does it for those guys. Like I have a huge heart for those lonely guys that don't have the kind of connections that we have. And I love to bring them in, but for whatever reason, they're just out there. They won't make themselves known. And they need to hear a conversation to feel like they're in that conversation. And so for me, that's the biggest driver of doing this. Not because I feel like I have something to say, but because we have fun and I want other people to have fun with us. And I don't know. Jeff has things to say. I don't.
The purpose of this podcast is to encourage you. And one of the great ways to encourage people is to have fun, to realize, the world is crashing and burning around us, but we will dance in the flames. Right. So,
I like to do X Spaces for Hangouts. It's a good medium. Like, I don't have a podcast yet, so X Spaces are kind of where I go. I do Bible studies or topic discussions or something.
Yep. Follow him on Twitter. Link in the description. Going to skip a couple of these. Z says that was on Whole Foods, not Amazon, because that's where the lobster was from. Okay, so sorry about that. Got that wrong. But I don't know. Does Amazon take Snap? I don't know. I will.
They do. I think I've seen something.
Yeah. So, all right.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that's talking about. So I'm going to scroll a little bit, but let's see. Sir Vilder says, "Don't worry. I'm so ashamed. I'm posting about it on the internet." Yeah, that's not too shameful, right? Okay, so that's the bottom of the comments now. So we'll put a bookmark on that, and then let's move along to Ben. Do you have enough time to kind of discuss the next topic? We can go.
Yeah, I'm here, so I don't have anything else going on tonight.
Okay. Cool. So, all right, sounds good. I don't have anything else going on either. But all right, so Ben, we were talking earlier about you are no longer at the church you were at last year. You moved along, and there was a struggle session, which wasn't the inciting incident, but it was kind of the kick in the seat of the pants on your way out. So do you want to kind of give us a little bit of context? Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, so I had felt the need to move churches earlier than this happened. So maybe about around the turn of the year of 2025, I had gotten to the point where I said, okay, we need to start visiting some other churches. There were just some relational dynamics with the pastor, but also some stuff with the preaching was I kind of realized something about it, that it had gotten so grating on me and so burdensome to listen to me that I was ready to move on. But come around May, so about 5 months into that, I got summoned to, actually it was April, so 4 months in, I got summoned to a meeting with the elders, so that I got a formal email with on letterhead that said, the session is calling you to a session meeting, and it's a month away to discuss your views on race. I said, I feel kind of threatened. Is this a pre-disciplinary meeting? Is that kind of your goal? And they said, well, you need to go before God as to why you think that. But it could lead to discipline.
So no, but yes, but no, but yes.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, so I mean, yeah. the way I look at it is, as a church, we spent a lot of time together. We'd go to each other's houses very frequently. It's very easy to have a phone call or a meal or something like that. If you're summoning someone to a session meeting, the main motive for that is so that you have documentation, and like it's the initiation of a formal process. So even though it's not officially a disciplinary act to summon someone to a meeting, it's going through the procedures you would need to do if you are going to go that route.
Right.
So I, again, in light of the frame discussion, is I don't want to have this kind of like, oh yeah, we're just here to talk, if we're not just here to talk. So tell me what your intentions are. Are we here to talk, or is this disciplinary? And the answer was like, yes, but no, but yeah, like you need to worry about it. And so I just was like, okay, I'm not going to worry about it, but I'm going to go. So a month later, actually, in the process,
it was scheduled for a month out.
Yeah,
which is weird to me, but I'm not a Presbyterian.
Part of that is Presbyterian stuff, but it doesn't help. So with Presbyterians, you have stated meetings that happen on certain intervals. So getting the session together, that's getting 5 people together for a meeting. And so you don't need to necessarily call an emergency meeting to do that kind of thing. And once you've decided that you're going to do something, you can go ahead and tell them. So like the fact that it was a month out wasn't necessarily a problem in itself, but it presented a problem in that we had previously had a very informal and high contact church relationship in terms of very frequently going to each other's houses and things like that. And so when I got the summons, I decided I wasn't going to go and stay at their house or do any of just kind of informal conversations during this time. Because this is actually something I learned from going through a divorce in 2018, 2019, is you don't just have long, casual conversations with someone who is litigating you.
Right.
And so you want to keep communication professional, and there's like a professional distance that you have in litigation, and you want to focus mainly on logistics. And you can make these mistakes very easily where you say something that you thought was just reasonable and they take offense to it, and they have their lawyer send you a letter, and so you have to have your lawyer send them a letter, and so now you've both billed an hour, and so you've effectively like spent the price of an iPad so that your lawyers could send each other letters.
And it's never helpful.
It's not helpful.
This is the advice that every lawyer gives you, right? If you're in any kind of litigation, if you're arrested, what have you, the advice that you get right off the bat is always don't talk to cops.
Yeah.
Right. Don't talk to cops. Don't say anything. Keep your mouth shut. And it's a very reasonable expectation that if you're going to be litigated, you're going to keep your mouth shut. That's what the Fifth Amendment is all about, right? I plead the Fifth. It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because you're a criminal, but it's because anything you say can and will be used against you. And so this was not an unreasonable precaution to take. If somebody informs you, hey, we're going to litigate you in a month, you don't go over to his house and have a couple beers and some fried chicken.
Yeah, let's go hang out. Yeah.
Because anything that you say can and will be used against you. You never surrender your frame in that way. You don't surrender yourself to the whims of someone who is enacting power over you in a potentially negative way.
Right. So anyway, I drew back from them, and the pastor got really upset with me for drawing back like this. Like, why won't you talk to me? Like, what's the problem? Like, why can't you just talk to me? Like, I am talking to you. at the meeting
I'm
that
talking to
you
you right
called.
now.
I'm talking to you at the meeting that you called.
Yeah.
Because you called me to this meeting.
Mhm.
If I'm going to be put into a formal setting where I'm being investigated on something, I'm not going to just informally go talk about this. It seems pretty reasonable to me. But so that was part of the conflict. So anyway, the struggle session happens in May. I go to this meeting. There's a 2-hour meeting where I get drilled on questions of race, like what do I believe about this? Here are some tweets we have. My wife was heartbroken when she read this. Like just a number of things like this, and it ended. I felt like I did a pretty good job in this meeting. I held frame pretty well, and I felt like I had a decent defense for the things that I was saying. But then after that happened, there was radio silence on anything related to this for a solid 2 months.
And you're still attending this church, and
yeah.
Yeah.
And so at the time I was attending every other week, because on the off weeks I was visiting other churches to see if that's where I wanted to go. And I actually told them before the meeting happened, I told them, just so you're aware, I have been visiting other churches. And the reason I told them
this is not a surprise to them.
Is if it was going to become disciplinary, I didn't want it to look like, oh, because this is going to be disciplinary, I'm leaving.
Right.
Like this was already in the plans. This had nothing to do with your meeting, but the timing of this makes it to where I wanted to inform you that.
Right.
But so anyway, these 2 months pass, and they summon me to a meeting that says, hey, next week we want you to come to this session meeting, and we're going to read you a letter that was composed by the session. So I say,
so quickly, for those who don't know, who aren't Presbyterian, what is the session? Could you give us
the session is the elders of the church. So
the elders of your specific church.
Yeah, of your specific.
And how many gentlemen was that?
This was 5.
So five pastors of this church together.
Yeah, I mean, officially 2 pastors and 3 ruling elders.
Right. Okay.
Now in the recording, it sounded like there were only 2 people speaking other than yourself.
Yeah,
accurate?
There were other people, some of whom were sitting further away and hard to hear, and some only spoke like once or twice.
Okay.
So that's why that was. But there was, I'm pretty sure, 5 people in that meeting. But so these 2 months pass. I get summoned to a meeting that's, next week, and they say, we want to read you a letter that the session is composed. And so I say, okay, can you send me the letter? And they said, we think it's best if you just come to this meeting instead. And I said, well, I don't want to come to the meeting without reading the letter first.
Right.
And then they say,
I'm not going to walk into an ambush.
Yeah, please let me know whether you're going to come to the meeting or not. I said, well, if I can't read the letter, then no, I'm not going to come to the meeting. And so they deliberate. And, they have to, every time they send a letter, they have to meet and talk. And so it's like a process. So they meet and talk, and they say, okay, well, we're going to summon them again. And so they summon me again, saying, we are hereby summoning you to a new meeting. So when they did that, I was like, okay, game's over. I know exactly what your intentions are. Why would you request me to do the same thing that you've already requested me to do once if you weren't trying to have a paper trail that you went through this process so that you could get me? Well, like, hey, Sean, do you want to go out for pizza at Papa John's? No. Okay. Hey, Sean, you want to go out for pizza at Papa John's? No. Okay. Hey, Sean, you want to go out for pizza at Papa John's? No.
I'm starting to think this isn't about the pizza.
Right. So it's like, I made my intentions clear. Why do you need to ask me multiple times to do that? And it's basically because there's a process for trying people in absentia and processes for proceeding with things legally within these courts.
Yeah. Now, it's important to note that in this meeting that you had with your elders, the one that you did go to, there were no charges levied against you of any sort whatsoever. They didn't say, "Hey, here's what you did wrong." They just had some questions. You answered them, and when you left the meeting, they were actually satisfied with your answers. So, full disclosure, the recording of that meeting was shared by Ben with Sean and myself, and we have listened to it in full. And when that meeting was adjourned, there were no charges, there was no rebuke, there was nothing. It was, okay, that seems reasonable. See you later. So
Yeah.
this is, for them to then say, okay, we want you to come to this meeting and we're going to read you a letter, that would be where they would start bringing you up on charges. Like, okay, we've got the goods, we've got what we want to nail you to a cross with. Now come and show yourself to Caesar.
Right. So the issue here, like, I'm fairly confident with speaking off the cuff. I have a decent amount of confidence about my abilities to come up with things extemporaneously and be ready for things. But to me, it's more about the principle of what are the motivations for you not sharing this letter for me?
Yeah.
Right.
You have a couple options. One is, like, you think that if you share the letter with me, then I won't come to the meeting. Okay. But I'm already telling you I'm not coming to the meeting without reading the letter. So that means you could give me the letter and then maybe I might come to the meeting. So
Right.
You're better off. Or the intention is that you don't want me to know what's in the letter yet so that you can catch me off guard so that I will be flustered, not know what to say. And I might confess to something, or I might go along with something that I shouldn't go along with. I might be caught in an ambush.
Right.
And so I said, either way, there's no good construction on why they won't share this letter with me. So that means I know what their real motives are. Their motives are not forthright.
They're malicious.
They're malicious motives. And when eventually, like, I just said, like, hey, why won't you share the letter with me? And I think their answer was, we wanted to be able to explain in person the letter so that you didn't understand it the wrong way or something like that. Like, you could send me the letter and say, hey, we're going to explain this to you when you come to the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fine. Like, it was the fact that you are going through these machinations that are transparently obvious what you're trying to do, but you're, like, not willing to just be forthright about what you're doing. And this is not an outrageous thing to suspect either, because this was an OPC church that was close to all of the Spangler situation. And Michael Spangler was divested from ministry in a shenanigan way. Like, the official way that if he was going to go through the process properly, it would be for them to accuse him of sin and for him to be tried on that basis and be given a censure that removed him from ministry if he had done something wrong. That would be what the legitimate process would be. But they explicitly recognized that would take a long time. And so rather than do the just thing according to their own rules, they had to find a back door to get him divested to do it on a timeline that they wanted. And so they came up with some legalese that was from the Book of Discipline that talked about the gifts and graces of a minister. And so it's basically the provisions that are there for someone who is not necessarily an immoral person, but someone who doesn't have the gifts of ministry. So the example would be two main examples would be, you have like a senile pastor or someone that had a stroke or something like that, where they were a moral person, but they lost the ability to really do the job right. And so they would need to be divested without a censure because they really just had no bearing being a minister.
Yeah.
And the other one would be
it's a method for them being forced out of the pulpit, maybe against their will, but for their own good, for medical reasons.
Medical or just anything that would impact their ability to do the job properly.
Right.
The other would be like, let's say you had someone who was a bright student, enthusiastic, etc. And he passed the ordination exams and went through the whole process. But when it comes to him actually ministering, he's just not good at it at all. It's like the equivalent of getting hired for a job and going through a probationary period and being judged like, you just suck at this job.
Right.
Like, you're not a bad person. You just should not be a salesman. Like that kind of thing. That's the other caveat where it could be used. And so they took this what's essentially a loophole, and they actually accused him of sin. But since it wasn't a true accusation of sin, he actually didn't have the way to defend himself against the sins he was being accused of.
Yeah, because it's an unofficial accusation.
Yeah.
It's the accusation is implied via the use of this tool.
Now, to be fair to my former church, the pastors at my former church thought that Spangler got a raw deal, and one of them spoke against the methods that were used against Spangler. So I appreciate that, but I still factor it into the way that these kind of OPC church courts work. There is kind of a club, and the people that are in the club get the benefit of the doubt. They get special treatment, and the people that are not in the club don't get special treatment. And the topics of I think that probably my race things had to do somewhat with my adjacency to Spangler. And I think that they just kind of have to push on anyone that is close to Spangler. That's a speculation, but I think it's
not
probably
an unfair
what's going
speculation.
on.
Yeah.
Can we just appreciate the fact that they said, hey, we just want to talk. I just want to gather 5 elders together and talk to you in a closed room about your views on race. Like, you can imagine they're not there to talk about FBI crime statistics. Like,
Right.
right? Like, it's such an absurd idea. Like, no, you can totally trust us. We're not going to show you the letter, the official decree of like they're acting like the guy in Mulan who has the emperor's letter and is just like, you have to give your father over to war or something. Like we have this decree. We're not going to show you what it is, but please walk into this room like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas.
Yeah, so what's really crazy is before this church, I was at a PCA church when I was married to my first wife, and my first wife just she got that kind of divorce bug in her heart, and it was kind of contagious within the church. Like, there were other people in the church that did that kind of thing, and there were a lot of people that were kind of orbiting her because we were foster parents at the time. And so there was this orbiting group of people that was there to support foster parents, and it was support her and elevate her as a saint and yada, yada, yada. And so I get summoned to a meeting to help my marriage. I'm just told hey, we want you to come to this meeting because we want to help your marriage. So I go to this meeting. It is all the elders, all the deacons, and their wives. And this meeting was back in 2018. And this meeting was all of them pressuring me to approve of my wife getting a therapeutic separation from me. And I was like, I've been traveling for work this month. I've only been home 7 days this month. So what separation are you talking about? It's like a pressure relief valve. And I'm like, what pressure is there when I'm not there? I'm not even calling her every day. And it was I found out later that she went to a Christian counselor. Don't go to Christian counselors, by the way. She went to a Christian counselor who the first meeting told her that she should get a separation. How do you know? You don't know anything about this?
Yeah. You've known me for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And so this was a big part of my red pilling, is really realizing that the world does not work the way that people say that it works. And what else is that way? But so anyway, that was So that was my context with the surprise meeting of all the elders and all the deacons and their wives. And it's like, I understand this dynamic, and I'm not gonna walk into an ambush and my OPC church knew about this ambush, and like I had told them about it, and they were still kind of willing to try to do the ambush thing. It's like, do you think that you can manipulate me? Like, I am immune to manipulation now. I've learned so much about manipulation. You cannot manipulate me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But so that was so this process of, hey, we're summoning you to a meeting. Can I read the letter? No. Okay, then no. Hey, we're summoning you to a meeting. Can I read the letter? No. Okay, and basically they said, well, we're going to threaten you with contumacy, which is a ridiculous word for rebellion, if you don't come to this meeting. And I said, okay, well, I hereby resign my family's membership from this particular church. We remain a member of God's church, of the Church of Jesus. But we are resigning our membership from this church. And they said, well, it doesn't work that way. We don't approve it. We reject that resignation. And I said, I don't care what
yeah.
what. And they said, we'll tell you what your options are. And I was like, you don't have any power to do anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
my options are, I'm not coming back.
I said, like, what I would prefer is that this would happen without censure, but we insist on removal anyway. And we're not going to do it. And so they make this big show of, so they mistakenly believe that erasure in the Book of Church Order or Book of Discipline of the OPC, erasure carries the same weight as excommunication, which is like the erasure of your name from the rolls, which is something that you can do when someone is not participating in your meetings or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's bookkeeping, tidying.
Yeah, but according to the book, even according to their own rules, it's an administrative act of discipline. It's not a moral act. It's not a spiritual act. So it's basically saying, hey, for orderliness for the church, you don't want to have rolls full of people that aren't really members of the church. So remove them from the rolls. That's essentially what it's saying in legalese. But our pastor wrongfully interpreted this as a sentence equal with excommunication. And so he told me that I am personally removed from the church. My family remains a member of this church. And I am barred from the Lord's table, and I don't have a credible profession of faith. It's
now,
like, okay, because I don't go to your meeting.
Yeah.
I'm an unbeliever in Christ because I don't go to your meeting, your ambush.
And the thing is, removal of the table, that is supposed to only come after a trial by abstention,
Right.
which was not done.
Right.
So,
yeah, basically they were mistaken about the way the system works, and they probably would have tried me in abstention if they knew the way the system works.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, that depends on you believing that the OPC is exercising the office of the keys when they're doing this.
Yeah.
And the fact is, when you watch what they really do, they're not operating the office of the keys. When Boyd Miller, the pastor of the OPC church in LaGrange, Georgia, which is like a couple hours from where our church was, it was uncovered that he had been grooming underage women of the church for like 20 years and having these weird clingy behaviors and like inviting himself to their things and like harassing them after they were married and like, why don't you invite me to things? Oh, why don't you talk to me? Like this kind of weird stuff like that. And he had actually committed, according to the law, felonious sexual assault by touching them inappropriately in 2 instances that he admitted to.
Which
now,
anytime somebody admits to that, there's always more that they didn't admit to.
Yeah, and you know,
just a rule.
Whatever really happened, like those are the things he admitted to. It would have been beyond the statute of limitations to deal with criminally or whatever. But what happened to him, he was unable to step down. So he was persuaded. The insiders of the OPC, in fact, some of the same people that went after Spangler came to him and said, like, hey, the best move for you would be for you to step down. in this situation. So they give him the opportunity to step down. He gets like 11 months of severance, and he's making like over 10 grand a month
Boy, it must be
in
nice.
compensation. I know. And he's single. And he's got investments and stocks and stuff. So like he's rich. He gets like 11 months of severance of like really generous salary, when the reason for his, and he was permitted to resign with without any accusations against him.
Yeah.
And so like this is what happens to an insider who gets in trouble.
Yeah.
But if some congregant doesn't want to come to a meeting, then they're going to say, I'm outside the faith. I don't have a credible profession of faith. And when
and
someone goes against Amy
the
Bird,
process too. I mean, this is something that we saw with the Michael Hunter situation as well. They got so mad they kicked him out of the church before they enacted the discipline, and they kind of jumped the gun, which made them lose the opportunity to then do the discipline that they wanted to do. So it's kind of just a wild situation there, where because they were impatient, and they did this with Spangler as well, because they were impatient, they did things out of order, and they did things according to a wrong process. And the end result was that they have, in fact, declared themselves as illegitimate via their bending of the rules. Yeah. If you'll excuse me just a second, I need to go do something. I'll be right back, but I'm still listening.
So
Okay.
This is going to be a weird comparison here, but I remember somebody saying that when September 11th happened, then that next Sunday, a bunch of people showed up in church, and someone was telling me, if that church was not ready to accept all those people in and address what it was they were looking for coming to that church after 9/11, if they weren't ready for that before it happened, they weren't ready for it that Sunday.
right.
And I think the same thing with a lot of this church discipline stuff. It's like a lot of these elders never went through the mental motions of like, oh, if something crazy ever happens in my church, how would I do church discipline? And then when someone comes around that they just don't like, they haven't already thought through like, well, what actually has to happen before church discipline is either necessary or even possible. They just kind of like, well, I don't like this guy. I want him out. So I will try to find whatever I can find. Like, they just really quickly, 5 minutes before showtime, they just, what does the OPC have to say about this in the rule book? Or I don't know the whole what's all in the OPC, but yeah, it just sounds like they're kind of just trying to figure it out in the moment. And
yeah, maybe, I'm not sure quite. I mean, I think this view of the Book of Discipline was formed actually with Amy Bird, because Amy Bird, her ultimate fate in the OPC was erasure when she left the church and went to an egalitarian denomination without being transferred. And this cope that my pastor had, which he was somewhat party to this whole situation with Amy Bird as well. But the cope was, well, she's effectively excommunicated because she was erased. Like, no, because she was allowed to fully cause all the damage and then leave and get exactly her way.
Yeah, and there was no official punishment that followed. She
and
was
you would
able
have to
transfer
understand
membership without consequence.
And you would have to understand this like esoteric rule book that, what this really means is like, as like the only reason why any of this stuff even matters is because you're considering the doctrine of the keys. The Roman Catholic Church believes that if you are excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church, you are damned ex operato. Like the Pope could say, hey, we excommunicate you. You are now going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And the Protestant churches, don't want to discard the doctrine of the keys, but their typical thing is what they're saying effectively is we have, as the church, have a role of declaring what is true of you in the stead of Christ or with the voice of Christ. And so there's this kind of understanding that when the church speaks, when it's in accord with Scripture, when it's accord with the will of God, it carries a special weight that general speech doesn't carry. And so the only reason to believe that is because they actually have a reputation of doing that. Whereas right now it's a coin flip. There's no real reason to believe that being put out of the church makes you any better, or not being put out of the church makes it any worse. It's almost a meme at this point to say that someone is a member in good standing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, yeah, every like one that's a troubler of the church is a member of good standing. Like Eli McGowan's a member of good standing. Amy Bird was a member in good standing. Like these are the people that are causing the trouble.
Yeah. And when it comes to people like Amy Bird, she is still a member in good standing, just of a different denomination. There
Right.
was no condemnation. There was no official condemnation. But heaven forfend, God forbid that you say something against the post-war consensus. God forbid that you agree with your great-grandparents about, the race issue. God forbid that you believe what every human being on the planet believed up until 1920, and you will be excommunicated. But if you want to come in here and say, homosexual attraction's not a sin, if you want to come in here and say, all of these things about, homosexuals, members in good standing, you can stay in our church just as long as you don't act on those feelings. But if you have a feeling about these things, that's the sacred cow that you unfortunately touched, and you will be crucified.
Listen, here I believe a lot of spicy things about black people, but I will never act on them.
There you go. Isn't that,
Well, a lot of this reminds me of the collegiate system or the university system, where it's basically like this inner circle of people who say, hey, I'll acknowledge you as a scholar if you acknowledge me as a scholar. Oh yeah, and this guy over here's a scholar, and he says that, and it's like this small group of people that are saying, hey, we're all scholars, we all affirm each other. And as soon as someone disagrees with them, like, oh well, he's outside the scholarship of this thing. And so
it's like the Associated Press.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All the cool kids say that this is the truth, so therefore this is the truth.
Yeah, it's a real rough situation. So Ben, to kind of wrap that up, where are you now? Kind of what is your situation at the moment? Are you okay? Blink twice.
Oh yeah. I'm doing good. I've been visiting other churches, and I've kind of stuck with one church that I've been visiting for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly interested necessarily in joining per se, because in one part, I mean, what's going on with just to be forthright, the church I'm visiting is a PCA church right now. Mm-hmm. It's not that I'm necessarily enthusiastic about Presbyterianism anymore, but you look at what your options are, and that's still the best one. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like, for one, it's kind of cucked to join a denomination or to join like a presbytery that was involved in destroying your marriage. Like, hey, we'll just go wreck your family and like take your kids away from you, and you want to join us and be under our authority? Like, no. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, I could go to churches where I have to wear earplugs, and I could go to charismatic churches. I go to a Lutheran church that wouldn't commune me and would still be upset with my, whatever I believed about race and Jews and stuff. I could go to a Baptist church, which, I've visited some and they've been okay. But ultimately, it's just was the best fit to go to a PCA church.
Mhm.
So part of the reason I don't want to join is that. And the other thing is, like, I have like more of a reticence about being put under authority of someone who's just going to do the same thing again.
Yeah, once burned, twice shy.
Yeah, you don't know for sure. And then the third one is the Glasser statement. So I think you guys know about Benjamin Glasser's statement. Like the PCA adopted that statement. And so officially, according to PCA adoption, this pastor should be in violation of the standard for associating with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how can I join a church that is that's going to do that? So that's kind of my.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm not like.
Yeah, you can't really ask him to do that on your behalf. It wouldn't really be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen ultimately. I'll have to weigh up a bunch of things, but that's my thinking about joining and why I feel comfortable where I am visiting a church. I think that baptism is the sacrament of entry into the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that the OPC is an error. If it is their doctrine, they're an error if they believe that your name on the rolls of a church is your membership to the church, like that your membership to the body of Christ, the invisible church, isn't, or just the visible church in general, is associated with your names on the roll of one specific church. Mm-hmm. I don't see that as being really a position you can dogmatically defend.
Yeah.
You really end up with like 100 million popes at that point.
Right.
Like they could literally just excommunicate you, like this one little church.
Yeah. Well, he burned the toast again, excommunicado.
Yeah.
Now, to be clear, this church that I've been visiting, I don't know of anything that is specifically wrong with this church. Like the pastor is very friendly, and I've been forthright with him. He hasn't kicked me out yet. The preaching is better. The sacraments are administered in an orderly way. Singing is reverent. So I don't have like any, and I like the people there. So I don't have any objection to this specific church. So it's more so the denominational situation.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, it sounds like you've got a good place to land, if not officially, at least physically. And glad to hear that you're not just out dragging in the wind like some friends of ours have done. Especially if you're out in the Midwest and there aren't more than just 2 churches in town. You don't really have an option. If you get run out of one, that's kind of it. So glad to hear that things are at least going your way and good for your family.
Now, Jesus did say that one form of persecution is they will kick you out of synagogues.
That's right.
And so synagogues were the
religious
building. They were the Old Testament church gathering. And now obviously there's a literal interpretation of this that like literally if you are a Jewish convert to Christ, they will kick you out of synagogues. But generally speaking, there's a spiritual interpretation of this as well, that within the church, one form of church persecution is for churches to run you out. The visible church ran Jesus out of their churches and ultimately conspired to kill him,
and did
through legal means, and did.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, but race is an issue like that. Like, my views on race are not like this, spicy, edgy thing that like I got from the internet. It's like, this is part of what righteousness is.
Yeah.
And this is coming from people.
Yeah.
Realistically, in a way that helps them.
Yeah. This is coming from Ben Mordecai, who on his Substack has an article, Why I'm Not a Kinist.
Right.
Where you go through and explain your position and why you don't hold to certain positions that some people have held out as a big bugaboo. They've made a definition of, okay, this is bad. And you've said, okay, by that definition, I'm not that. And, it's a good article. I encourage y'all to read it. there is nothing that Ben holds to that would have not been held to by your greatest generation grandpa. Right? He is not outside of the church in any way. Andrew Jackson, President of the United States back in the 1800s would not have been like, oh, I've never heard of somebody who had these views before. Everybody that George Washington knew held these exact same views, and they all went to church, and they all communed, and they all went to heaven.
It was government policy. It was church policy. I mean, these are not bizarre things.
Yeah. And so glad to hear that you're doing good. Wish things could be better, but these kinds of shenanigans, unfortunately, are very common. And, this is, some encouragement to some guys. If you see this on the horizon, be planning ahead, be considering what you believe. And when people ask you about it, be prepared to answer them truthfully, but keep in mind what you are trying to accomplish with the words that you use. Don't surrender your frame. Do not submit to their moral frame, because there is a better truth, a solid foundation of reality that you can stand upon. You do not need to submit yourself to the fanciful imaginations, the spirit of the age, when it comes to controversial topics.
Yep. And ultimately, like, these things are controversial because they're gatekept and they're part of polite conversation and they're part of respectability politics and just misguided ideas about these things. But like, these are issues of righteousness that are front and center of our day. White people getting killed is a problem. You're not loving you're doing what James talks about. Says, go in peace, be filled and warm, but giving nothing necessary for the body. If your argument is like, oh, we just need to preach the gospel, pray for the blacks. Like, no. Whites getting murdered systematically, us funding people to hurt us, is not righteous.
No. You're saying be warmed and filled.
Yeah. You're saying, go be alive, be happy. Like, no, like, most of people's money, if you're white, most of your money goes to trying to escape black people.
Moving to
I don't know how else to say this.
Yeah.
It's not that they hate blacks as blacks. It's that I don't want my daughter to get accosted by someone in the neighborhood. My kids can't ride their bikes outside. My truck gets broken into. Yeah. Am I just supposed to live like this?
Everybody knows what a good neighborhood is.
Right.
Nobody's allowed to say it,
people.
But everybody knows it. And it's one with, and it's not just African Americans. It's also a Mexican neighborhood. If you live in a Mexican neighborhood, you're going to get your tools stolen.
Yep.
If you live in an African American community, you're going to get your radio stolen out of your car. There are certain things that come with certain groups of people. And the thing is, treat groups like groups and individuals like individuals.
Right.
All right. You can say these things about a group without condemning every individual in the group. And a logical person knows this and can function without issue in this arena.
Yep.
You know that you can say, okay, I know what a bad neighborhood is. A bad neighborhood is one with a bunch of minorities. I want to move out to suburbia with a bunch of white-collar, white-skinned people.
I need to get rich enough to be able to get away from these people, because that's the only way that I can legally get away from them.
Yeah. And if you do it, it will be called white flight, and you will be called a racist. But what you are doing is for the good of you and your family, and you should have no shame in it.
Now, this is one thing that I brought up in the struggle session. Carmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf. He barely knew the guy.
If at all.
If at all. He was in the other team's tent at a track meet, which is not what you do. Anyone who's been to like a school sporting event understands that teams don't go in other teams' tents. probable motivation is to steal stuff out of their bags. But it resulted in him getting stabbed. Now, what was the response of blacks? They create a Give, Send, Go account, which is a Christian fundraising account. And they come up with this ridiculous narrative, totally unfounded on anything, that Austin Metcalf was a bully and that Carmelo Anthony stood up to a bully. So ridiculous, completely disconnected from the facts of the case. Furthermore, you don't stab a bully. You don't do it. Anyway,
rational people don't.
They come up with this cope and they generate thousands of dollars in donations. And all of our comments are like, God's got this. God has plans for you. No weapon formed against you will prosper. They're quoting Bible passages. They're saying, I'm praying for you, Mello. We got to stick together. But God is being brought up constantly. It's like,
these are ostensibly Christian people.
You're telling me that the solution is Christ. The solution is evangelism. These people are Christians.
They go to church on Sunday.
So you're telling me that the solution to people getting stabbed is going and saying, let's evangelize them all. It's like, oh, well, you got to understand, like, not everyone who says they're a Christian is really a Christian. Like, there's this thing called false conversion. You understand that? Okay, great. So what I'm going to say is the default position with blacks who claim Christ are false Christians. Okay, so is that what you want me to say?
Is that what you want me to do?
Is that okay? So my view is the default is they're unbelievers. Okay, I agree. But so now the solution isn't we evangelize them. It's to go to all of them individually and say, hey, okay, so I know that you have this view of Jesus, who Jesus is, like, but do you know that, like, Jesus isn't that way? He actually believes there's this thing called sin, and you have to repent of it. It's not enough for you to just, like, pray. You have to actually repent of your sin, and, like, there's this law thing. You got to believe the law, and believe the law condemns you, and then Christ saves you, and then it's like, okay, and we'll do this 10 million times, and that will solve stabbings at track meets.
Yeah, this is not a political solution.
Get real. Get real.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of, like, they were like, how is this compatible with the gospel? Like, you need to get out of pietism land in your mind and get in the real world. You're not loving your neighbor if you think that the solution to political problems is evangelism. The Bible has a lot of politics in it. The Reformed doctrine of the law, of the three uses of the law, which Lutherans share, has the curb. My own pastor would preach this message. It's actually a really good analogy. He says there's the three lights of the law. There's the flashlight or the spotlight that shows your sin. There's the stoplight, which regulates society, like the traffic light. And then there's the headlight that illuminates your path. So it's you get convicted of sin so you can repent and be saved. That's one use. Another use is to regulate society by promoting good and evil.
Christian societal norms.
Yeah, good and evil. Yep, and exactly. And then the third is so that the Christian can know what good works are and perform them. And what we're talking really is the second use of the civil magistrate, or however you number them, the government use of the law. So we're saying is, hey, the law is thou shalt not kill. And when we look at this law, we say, here's a group of people that will not keep that law. Here's a group of people that will keep the law. Separate.
Yeah.
I think that's totally reasonable. Now, one of the pastors had just adopted a black baby. The white family had adopted a black baby. And so there was like, oh, like, what are you saying about this? I'm not saying anything about him. But I mean, it is relevant that you took in someone from a different culture and a different society. And now because of that, you have a conflict with me, someone who you've known longer. And someone who's of your own people, like now this action has now introduced a rift within the church. Like now maybe this is a reasonable thing to do, like, but don't you understand that when you're going to take in someone as your own child, as your ward, that there are going to be issues like this, and maybe you can't impose your problems on others.
Yeah, and the thing about adoption that I think gets missed a lot is even in the best case or the closest case, like you adopt your first cousin's child, which I know people who have done this, there will still be conflict from that adoption. It is just the fact of things. Adoption is making the best of a bad situation every time, because there's always either abandon, neglect, crime, violence, untimely death. These things are bad. And adoption is a solution that is fraught with problems, but it is making the best of that tragedy. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be sunshine, gumdrops, lollipops, and roses.
Right.
All right. There are going to be bad things that come about because of this temporary solution to a permanent problem. And the best way to deal with that is to face reality. To say, look, I am taking someone into my home who is not of my home. I am going to indoctrinate this child with the doctrine of my family. I'm going to, force them you force your children to learn. Right. It's indoctrination. There's no two ways about it. You are going to force them to leave behind their people and their gods and embrace you and your God. And that is a good thing. But if that is causing conflict with other people, something somewhere is out of line. Because if that is causing conflict with unrelated people who have done nothing to your child at all, then something is wrong with the way that you're understanding adoption. Something is wrong with the way that you're understanding interpersonal relationships. And that needs to be straightened out for the good of your child. Yeah. Because I do not predict good things in the future for a child who is adopted with an unrealistic understanding of what adoption is.
Yeah.
Jeff, I need to step out for a second. I know Ben does as well. Do you want to handle some comments?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll just start reading comments, and I can hold down the fort until y'all come back.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. We were at Sockeye Beard Company, and Vilder in the background were having a conversation. I'm going to sum it up. Sockeye told people that he sells beard products, and I need to try them. And you're right. I do need to try them. And mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, I have not done so. I've been doing a thing this year that a friend of mine, Wesley, kind of told some guys that we should do, which is no product in the hair whatsoever. Just rinse with hot water and comb it. And so for those of you who don't care, sorry, but maybe that's more information that you want. But it's been working out pretty good. It's actually nicer than it's ever been. So far, so good. Recommend it. But let's see. Yellow Moth has this to say about our previous discussion about statistics. He says, statistics is a course I'm qualified to teach. So he probably knows some things about, lies, damned lies, and statistics. JP3000 says, statistics describe relationships. You interpret the rest, but you can't interpret all of it. That's right. That's getting to what I was saying before about the fact that, there are things that statistics say that cannot be denied. They do represent reality in some fashion. They can be manipulated, but statistics in general do present information. Let's see. Sir Vilder is criticizing Ben's beer of choice. I will not indulge that. And then somebody dropped a link, which looks like spam. We'll skip that. Let's see. Yellow Moth says, I had a pastor in the OPC deliberately decide to stop preaching the gospel. In fact, it's the topic of his doctoral dissertation. Well, if you're not doing that, why are you a pastor? You know, do TED Talks. Do TED
Get rid
Talks.
of that guy.
Yeah. And Sir Vilder says, I want to see that dissertation. I have no expectation of good logic, but I want to know for sure. You don't need to know. Trust me. I haven't seen it, and I already know. Yellow Moth says, Sir Vilder, he's not done with it yet. He's going to RTS, so hopefully that will never materialize, but I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, agreed. Let's see. We'll skip a few of these. Sir Vilder talking about the situation where, you know, all of a sudden her lawyer sends a letter to your lawyer, so your lawyer has to send a letter back. He just says, I hate paying my attorney. And do you really need a better reason than that? Right? Don't talk to cops. Don't talk to people who are litigating you. Maintain a respectful, healthy, professional distance, because I hate paying my lawyer. It really is that simple. Nathan B., I screwed up in maintaining a normative friendship with elders that had painted a target on my back.
Yep.
Yeah. If people come out as hostile, you do not owe them the opportunity to stab you in the back. Okay.
Right.
You can break that off and just leave. Right. The best self-defense is leave. Not sure what a lot of this is, but Yellow Moss says Spangler did nothing wrong. Agree.
They were talking about my letter to the letter that they were gonna read me.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, I still need that letter. Yep. If you're going to hold that out, I'm not going to come. Boss and HR just want to talk. Yeah, it's got that vibe, doesn't it? Yeah, it's like, could you come into HR? You know, your boss comes up to you, he's like, could you come into the HR office? You know, Matt and I need to talk to you about something. It's like, really? You know, Matt and Katrina need to talk to me about something in the HR office. No,
you're not really wearing your mask, are you?
Yeah. I'm kind of busy right now, actually. I'm about to go eat lunch in my car. I'll see you never. I'm just going to drive home and leave. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, this is something that we didn't really talk about much, but Ben made reference to it. Builder says, I hate the divorce bug. It's deadly. Yeah, if a church allows bad behavior to fester, it will become contagious. All right, if you don't cut off the rotting limb, eventually the rot will spread to your entire body and you will die. Churches that do not exercise strong opposition to divorce will be racked with divorce, and they will also be full of philandering, and then that opens the door to homosexuality, and then you get bestiality and child molestation. These things start small, and they are a slippery slope. The slippery slope is not a fallacy by virtue of the fact that slippery slopes exist. All right.
Yeah.
If a church will not exercise the due authority to prevent perversion, it will always get worse. Divorce is a disease and it is contagious. And if the church does not do appropriate things to stop it, to punish it, they will suffer the consequences.
Yeah, I've said before on this, if you go anywhere in the world and you see the Golden Arches, you know that you will find decent hamburgers or decent cheeseburgers, decent French fries, chicken nuggets, and Coke. There's not a McDonald's in the world that you can go that you're not going to have that. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not going to be the best burger of your life.
Nope.
It might not be very healthy, but you know what you're going to get. You're not going to get ambushed. There's not going to be someone that tries to poison you and ruin your life.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be someone that tries to kill you. No one that tries to get your wife divorced from you. No one that ask for 10% of your income and then uses it to, try to get you fired from your job or, insert all the things that churches do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame that you can't say, hey, look around and look for a steeple. You see the steeple? That's a church. Go in there and you will get a serviceable meal. It might not be the best sermon you've ever heard or the best people you've ever met, but you'll go there, you'll receive the gospel, you'll receive the means of grace. It will benefit your faith.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it is the exception when you find a church that benefits your faith.
Yeah. The small country church is vanishingly rare, and it is a treasure beyond measure. Just some old country pastor who farms on the week, preaches on the weekend, and just cares about the people in the pew, just gets up and reads the Bible on a Sunday, sing a few songs out of the hymn book. That is a blessing. And those of you who have it, cherish that, because a lot of this nonsense could be prevented just by having a very simple attitude toward faith and life. Yellow Moth says they can't bring up discipline if you bring up erasure first. Machen put in a lot of rules to protect people in the OPC. Yeah, so the thing about rules is they only work if you follow them. Yeah, the Constitution is really high quality toilet paper if you don't actually read it. Right. The thing about rules, constitutions, bylaws, they're only as good as the people who enforce them. And right now, the people who enforce them are bad people.
Yeah, I jokingly said for my friends, the gospel, for my enemies, the law.
That's about right. Sockeye Grooming Company says the church Ben is talking about sounds like a legalistic church. I mean, the real thing.
I think it was
legalistic, pietistic. Yeah,
pietistic more so.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard because they would affirm gospel, but it would be basically a legal sandwich where there's gospel in part of it, but it's kind of sandwiched by things that just demoralize you and take away all the joy of being a Christian.
Yellow Moth says the OPC is a liberal denomination. The PCA is much healthier. I'm going to push back a little bit on this, which is to say a lot of this has to do with what church you're in, because as crazy as it sounds, there is probably a church in the PC USA that has a good pastor and preaches the gospel and has Christians in the pews every Sunday. That may sound really strange to you who know what the PC USA is. Which is an egalitarian, female preach, homosexuality encouraged denomination. But I guarantee you there's a PCUSA church somewhere out in the woods just holding down the fort. You can find good churches in any denomination because it actually matters who's in the pulpit on Sunday more than anything else.
Yeah. To Yellow Moth's point, though, what I'd say the main difference between the OPC and the PCA is that OPC is a very hands-on denomination where the work of the presbyteries and the pastors are genuinely very interconnected and they're in each other's business a lot. Whereas in the PCA, you have people that are doing things you don't like on every side, but there's a lot of live and let live attitude in the PCA.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of get away with things in the PCA that would never fly in the OPC. And that in some ways that's bad because of, like the woke stuff has really flourished in the PCA, and the gay stuff and the feminism stuff has started to flourish a lot in the PCA. But if you have spicy views on other things, you could probably get away with it too.
Yeah. Catholic churches like this a lot too. If you're a Catholic, you can publicly scream about TND, and you can you can say all kinds of really controversial, really mean tweets, right? And you can go to church on Sunday and receive the Eucharist.
Right.
You can be a Catholic and believe in extreme liberalism. You can believe that Mary is, the co-redemptrix with Christ, that you need to pray to Mary for forgiveness of your sins. You can do a lot of strange things in the Catholic Church. You can believe in, happy clappy nonsense.
You can be Joe Biden or
Nancy Pelosi. You can be Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and promote and vote for and encourage abortion and sodomy, openly and publicly endorsing it and condemning people for opposing it. And you can still go to a Catholic church and receive communion. So some churches are tighter and some are looser, and there's pluses and minuses to both. Yellow Moth again says, my observation of the OPC is they want to read Puritans and treat it as scripture, and they won't read or discuss the Bible. There's some of that, but also they're extremely selective. Like they'll read the Puritans on this subject. They'll read this guy on that subject. They'll read this guy on that subject, but they won't read them on the ones where they disagree. There's a Puritan pastor who I can't remember the name of, but he wrote a big tome on familial relations and very good stuff. Good, yeah. And, you can find that work being published today and circulated with major heavy edits where they cut out huge portions of the text where he talks about things like arranged marriage or how to keep your wife in line, because they love him on his familial relations except for these things here, because it argues with liberalism, modernism, and so they just cut big sections out.
Banner of Truth is known for doing that.
Yeah, it's really abhorrent, the things that they do.
The other thing on this topic I'd say about the OPC, or really this is more broadly of a Reformed problem, but with the OPC in particular, is this living in the past in these doctrinal things. So like people say like, hey, this book right here is an absolute treasure. It's a gem. There's precious gems in this book that teach you about the supralapsarian work of the infralegismo, whatever, of intertrinitarian, yada, yada, yada. You're like, okay. But
my wife is filing for divorce.
Right. And so it's like, they're great on these issues.
Right.
They're great on these issues, but they don't know how to get people to stop watching porn. They don't know how to, like, hey, I'm getting pressured to put pronouns in my bio at work. Like, pray about it. Like,
yeah,
like they're totally unhelpful in the real things that people are facing on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like they don't know how to do it. And a lot of them have never done anything else.
Yeah. We'll go a little quicker through these. Sockeye says, most churches are compromised to the point I almost don't want to go. Yeah. Understandable. Go anyway. Yellow Moss says, abandon the Westminster, come to the Reformed world. What? Not one, not two, but three forms of unity. Yeah. I like the energy you're bringing, but have fun with that.
Yeah, I think they're all fine. I don't think that any of them are really like. I think it's kind of a misguided mindset to say like, oh, the trick is we're just going to find this base denomination or something like. I don't think you're going to find that.
Yeah,
I think structurally you can't have that.
Yeah, the less important than the or more important than the denomination is the people in the pews and the guy behind the pulpit. That it is a guy behind the pulpit. That's kind of important. Nathan B. Ben, that's hard. I rejoice that I found a wonderful church for my family. I disagree with some matters of worship there, but I can trust the elders with my soul and the souls of my family. And that's what's actually important right there, guys. You need to be able to trust your elders with your soul and that they have your good at heart. Not that they're trying to play up to some corporate boss somewhere and score brownie points with their international, cabal, but that they actually care about you in the pews.
Trust but verify.
Yeah. And also, guys, a quick bit of encouragement. If Nathan can find a church where he can disagree with some matters of worship and still feel blessed by it, you can also do the same. So,
Yeah. Nathan, for those of you who don't know, maybe about 10 years ago when I first ran across him, he was fire and brimstone. And I was there for it. I didn't agree with him on a lot of things, but I loved the energy that he brought. He was very
I always thought it was
passionate.
fun
Yeah.
post, even though it was like Christmas bashing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was fun. It was good-hearted and fun.
Nathan is a crotchety old man, is what's going on here.
Yeah.
And he's fun
he's
to
mellowing out.
poke at.
And he's entered the epic mustache world now.
Yeah, he has.
Okay.
Sockeye, bad news. He shaved his beard, so
he's posting selfies, so you know he's happy now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip some of these, but let's see. 44 Golf Freak says some of the most base people I know have adopted. They know how it be. Yeah,
I've adopted too, sort of.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And the thing about relationships is, it shouldn't be a zero-sum game. If you're bringing somebody into your life that is making things objectively worse for everybody else, you're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, all right. Well, with that said, it looks like we're caught up on comments, and we've been going for 3 hours and 11 minutes, which makes this our record-breaking show.
Really?
From our last record was 3 hours and 9 minutes with Ethan.
Man.
But,
and we barely even got into my struggle sessions content.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. It was a 2-hour session.
Too big of a it was too big of a topic to talk both about frame and the struggle session, I think.
But I feel like it was very important to discuss frame first, because that's the part that's going to encourage people, and that is what this topic, that is what this program is about. Is trying to be encouraging, trying to give you the tools that you need to survive in the world in which you find yourself, the upside down of right world in which we live today. So, quick announcement for folks. If you are one of our coffee supporters on Buy Me a Coffee, we have an after hours program that we do once a month for our $5 supporters. And we have a couple of those. And just a heads up, Thanksgiving weekend, we will not be having a show. Sean, by the way, we will not be having a show on Thanksgiving weekend.
I find these things out live on the air, by the way.
Because I will be out of town and somewhere where there is not internet. I'm going to be visiting my Amish in-laws, who are not Amish, but they look vanishingly close. And we will not have a program then. So our monthly after-hours program for our coffee supporters will be next week after the show. We will send you a link to that so that we can have some fun, and we'll get something put together for y'all. But Ben, thanks for coming on the program. We really appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me.
And I know it was a heavy subject, but really, really encouraging for folks. People, go follow Ben on Twitter, on Facebook. Read his Substack. It's good stuff. It's encouraging stuff. It will sharpen you. And links are in the description for all that. But any final thoughts?
If you think that you're going to get struggle sessioned and you want to talk to me or you want to listen to my recording, reach out and we can talk. I will say I bought
there we go.
Sean's books. Okay.
Woo!
These are good books. It's mirror imaged in the picture, but I really enjoyed them. I give Sean a hard time about having 3 characters named Muhammad in the book. So I think that's hilarious. But fun books. My kids
10
read
out of
them.
10 realism.
Yeah. It's realistic. Yeah.
My kids read them and they liked them.
Okay.
Yeah. Or at least my oldest son read it and liked it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun read. It's the kind of thing that you start reading like you don't want to set it down, and you can finish it in one thing. I'm not a big fiction guy, and so I want to plug. I know this is come from someone else. Sean isn't paying me very much to say this.
No.
But
he's not even sharing his potato chips.
Yeah. No, these are tortilla chips. I'm not a potato chip guy.
Always be pondering. That's what I have to say. Always be pondering. Ponder your orbs. Ponder everything. Be thoughtful in life.
All right. Okie doke. Well, with that said, folks, we appreciate y'all sticking along for the show. It's been a long one, but a good one. And we discussed some heavy topics. Maybe give this another listen tomorrow on your way to work and, ponder some of these things. because I know I'm going to be doing that for sure. But hope that you all have a wonderful night, and go to bed, because tomorrow is a day that God has prepared for you to worship him in. So go to church, receive the means of grace, commune with your fellows, with your fellow Christians, be loving to each other, be kind, be gracious. And we hope that you all have a wonderful night, and farewell.